Chapter 1443. Chun Zhao decided to organize an underground expedition. He would find the participants from the association. It would be a test. He would also see if he could catch another immortal bird. Of course, Chun Zhao didn't have high hopes for this. After all, even if he could find one, it would be very deep underground. Other than Gaia, no one else could withstand that kind of temperature. Also, Gaia was immune to fire, but that didn't mean she could withstand endless heat. In fact, Gaia's heat resistance wasn't even as high as Chun Zhao's. Hey, West, tell the people in the association that we'll be training on temperature resistance. I plan to organize a group activity, an underground exploration. Those who don't have any resistance to temperature don't need to participate. At the same time, get Padaloo and Jalik to study heat-resistant suits. Ever since the gale, Los Angeles had been too quiet. Even some of the commissions were halved compared to usual. The association was very free, so Chun Zhao wanted to use this opportunity to give them something to do. Of course, giving them something to do wasn't asking them to die. Chun Zhao couldn't let a bunch of weaklings go deep underground. However, West didn't know if he misunderstood Chun Zhao's meaning. He called the underground expedition an underground treasure hunt. Then, everyone's enthusiasm soared, including Klaus and the Lightning team. They all started training for heat resistance. All of them belonged to the physical strengthening category. Therefore, their heat resistance was also very high. Plus, they weren't going to crawl into a hole half-naked. When the time came, he would definitely have to wear protective clothing and cast protective spells. Of course, Chun Zhao didn't know that his sudden idea had caused the entire association to boil. "President, you're targeting me this time, right?" Helis called Chun Zhao, her voice filled with dissatisfaction. "What? How am I targeting you? You know that I can't stand heat, and you still want to go underground to search for treasure?" Helis wanted to go. No matter how aloof and unapproachable she usually was, she was still a young girl. Actually, on normal days, if there were any activities in the association, or if anyone needed help, Hallies would help them. She was a warm-hearted girl, but even Chun Zhao couldn't help but feel that Helis was a bit antisocial. "Wait, treasure hunt? What treasure hunt? You don't have to hide it. Mr. West told me everything." "What did West say? When did I say I was going on a treasure hunt?" Chun Zhao was speechless. What would happen then? If they said there were no treasures now, it would be too much of a blow to their enthusiasm. "Forget it. I'll just hide it for now." At that time, he would just say that they were not strong enough to enter the depths. That would be great. Punkcat heard a scream coming from Shayla's room. Punkcat immediately jumped up and rushed into Shayla's bedroom. "Miss Shara, what's wrong?" Punkcat hastily hugged Xiala, who was scratching her messy hair, and patted her back to soothe her. At this moment, Pancat suddenly felt that Xiala's strength seemed to have increased a little. She hugged herself a little too tightly. Miss Shala? Suddenly, Pancat realized the problem. Suddenly, Pankat's palm was covered in a layer of silver radiance as he chanted an incantation. A heavy slap landed on Shayla's back. This scream was definitely not something a woman could make. Pancat broke free from the passionate hug and saw a pitch-black spirit crawl out of Xiala's body. Evil spirit of burning fire. Pankat's expression changed slightly. Evil spirits of burning fire were evil spirits formed by people who had been burned to death by flames. There were many types of evil spirits. Among them, those killed by the four elements were the most difficult to deal with. Of course, the numbers were also the rarest. The four elements of water, fire, earth, and wind, under most circumstances, would directly wipe out a person's soul when they killed them. Therefore, there were very few who could retain their soul, and even fewer who could become evil spirits. The evil spirit of burning fire was like charcoal. Its spirit body was covered in cracks, and there was a faint glow of fire under the cracks. The evil spirit of burning fire suddenly pounced at Pancat. Pancat hurriedly raised his fist and punched the evil spirit's face, causing a splash of ashes and ashes. The evil spirit of burning fire screamed again. It landed on the wall, and its body melted into it. However, a patch of black immediately appeared on the wall. As the evil spirit of burning fire moved inside the wall, the blackness on the wall kept spreading. A moment later, the entire wall turned black. However, the evil spirit of burning fire did not continue to attack Pancat. The blackness spread out of the bedroom and disappeared. Pancat, Mr. Pancat, just now, what was that? Did you see it? Pancat asked. On the wall. The blackness on the wall can move, Xiala said with a pale face. Pancat thought that Xiala had seen the evil spirit of burning fire, but it turned out that she had seen the path of the evil spirit of burning fire spreading inside the wall. Although it was his first time seeing the evil spirit of burning fire, he had read some records about it in magic books. The evil spirit of burning fire was an evil spirit that was formed after being burned to death. It would attach itself to a dead object and leave behind traces of ashes. If it attached itself to a living thing, the soul of the living thing would slowly be burned away and eventually dissipate like charcoal. However, the evil spirit of burning fire was an earthbound spirit. It would not move around and would only guard the place where it died. In other words, this evil spirit of burning fire had originally died here. However, he had checked the entire house today and did not find the existence of an evil spirit. So where did this evil spirit of burning fire come from? Mr. Pancat, what's the situation now? The situation is a bit tricky, Pancat said. How is it tricky? The evil spirit just now was very powerful and very troublesome. Can't you do anything? If it was an ordinary evil spirit, I could still do something, but this kind of evil spirit, I can only ask my teacher for help. Your teacher? You have a teacher? Of course, I'm a spiritualist. Of course I have a teacher, Pancat said matter-of-factly. But before that, let's leave this house first, Pancat said matter-of-factly. Pancat felt that something was wrong. Xiala had said that she had been disturbed by illusions before. However, the evil spirit of burning fire did not seem to have the ability to use illusions on the living. The evil spirit of burning fire was an evil spirit with astonishing destructive power, and it was cruel and crazy. They did not like to beat around the bush, and they were very straightforward when it came to killing and arson. However, the evil spirit of burning fire in the house really did not make people feel safe. They should leave this place first. Chapter 1444. Early the next morning, Pancat and Shara went straight to Pancat's teacher's house. Mr. Sean, are you there? Pancat stood in front of his teacher's house and shouted. Shara looked at the building in front of her. Does your teacher live in a place like this? Yes. Is there a problem? Don't you think this house is too old? The life of a spiritualist isn't as good as you think, Pancat said. Pancat still had his main job. Exorcism was only his side job. However, most of the older generation of spiritualists treated exorcism as their main job. However, for spiritualists, unless they were famous spiritualists who had appeared on TV, there were very few who could earn a lot of money. Occasionally, they would meet a big client and be lucky enough to make tens of thousands of dollars. Most of the time, however, they only made a few $1,000s or less. Is your teacher very powerful? Shara asked. More powerful than me, Pancat said, and he solved the same problem as you in the past. Just then, the door opened. When Pancat saw Sean open the door, he was stunned. Pancat, why are you looking for me so early in the morning? What are you waiting for? You, Mr. Sean? What's the matter? Sean looked at Pancat impatiently. Punkart stared blankly at Sean. Sean was less than 40 years old this year. Usually, Sean wore an old and outdated black suit. But today, Sean was dressed neatly and had even changed into a brand new suit. Moreover, the messy beard on his face had been shaved clean. This made Punkart think that he had mistaken Sean for someone else. The current Xiao was a far cry from his impression of his teacher. Teacher, are you going out? No, I'm just going to class, Sean said. Class? What class? At Nosilla Church. Is it a class from the church? No, it's a magic training course organized by the Supernatural Organization. It's a public course, Sean said. What supernatural organization? Why don't I know anything about it? Is it a newly formed supernatural organization? Idiot, they've been around longer than you. but they usually keep a low profile. Sean rolled his eyes. And everyone in the organization is very powerful. No matter how powerful I am, can I be more powerful than you, teacher? I'm nothing in their eyes. Xiao rolled his eyes. All right. Do you want to attend the class together? Can I go too? That's an open class. Xiaola looked at the conversation between the teacher and student, who seemed to have forgotten about her. She immediately pulled Poncat. Is this your girlfriend? She's pretty. What's her name? No. Teacher, this is my client. Her name is Shayla. We are here to seek your help. Asking for my help. A burning fire evil spirit has appeared in Miss Ya LA's house. I can't solve it, so I can only ask for your help, teacher. I see. Sean nodded. How much is the reward? $20,000. I want half. Sure. Pang Cat nodded. In any case, Sean would be the main force, and he would be the assistant. He had no objections to this arrangement. Let's go to class first. I don't want to miss this public class, Xiao said. Teacher, do you come to this class every day? No, it's only one class a month, so I can't miss it. Then can I go? Shayla asked. Of course, Xiao said. Let's go. Nosilla Church isn't far from here. Teacher, will we be chased out by the supernatural organization if we dress so casually? I don't have any requirements for clothes. Then why are you dressed so formally? I want to leave a good impression. If there's a chance in the future, I might be able to become a member. When the three of them arrived at Nosilla Church, they found that there were already more than 20 people there. Pangcat recognized some of them. They were all spiritualists. A few more people came one after another, and there were about 30 people in the church listening to the lecture. After a while, the people from the supernatural organization finally arrived. Xiaola saw that the person on the stage was actually a young girl. From her appearance, he couldn't tell if she was over 20 years old. That's the supernatural organization? Shayla whispered. She looks very young. Shayla wasn't the only one who had doubts. Many people in the church had the same question. Jalanash stood on the makeshift podium and held a microphone. Hello, everyone. I'm a member of the supernatural organization, Jalanash. At the same time, she raised her right hand with her back facing the crowd. Maybe some of you have doubts about my power. This golden ring should be enough to explain it. A few people in the church exclaimed in surprise, but more people did not know what was going on. Mr. Shaoan, what's the meaning of the golden ring on the girl's hand? Shayla asked. Does it mean she's married? Pang Cat teased. Even he thought it was a joke. That's one of the supernatural organization's magic power levels, Xiao In said solemnly. Oh, then is the gold a symbol of a certain level? Pang Cat's tone was still frivolous. Yes, it's the symbol of the highest level. Then the organization's levels must not be strict. A little girl actually got the highest level. Previously, Magic Shell went to do the magic power level assessment. She got a blue ring. She's only ranked second. What? How is that possible? Magic Shell is such a powerful spiritualist. Does the supernatural organization's magic power level only have high, middle, and low levels? No, there are 5 levels, Xiao In said. Does their magic power level assessment have any authority? Back then, Magic Shell also questioned it. He even used his past achievements as proof and asked the supernatural organization to give him a higher level. Of course, the supernatural organization wasn't happy, so Magic Shell fought them and was thrown out. He was surrounded by the supernatural organization. No, Magic Shell said he was thrown out by a girl in black. Magic Shell has a lot of battle experience. How could he lose? Magic Shell said it himself. He said that the girl who stopped him seemed to be an extremely rare necromancer. That girl only used 10 seconds to defeat him. Please remember this book's domain name. Mobile version. Chapter 1445. In an instant, the entire church fell silent. Shara was surprised to find that she couldn't make sound. It wasn't just her. Sean and Poncat beside her couldn't make a sound either. At this time, Jalanash, who was on the podium, spoke. All right, I hope everyone can be quiet. After all, I don't want to waste time here. Jalanash didn't want to give these spiritualists any lessons. It was a complete waste of time. She might as well go back and study a spell. One morning was enough for her to study a small spell. Jalanash then removed the silence spell. Although the silence spell wasn't an elemental spell, but a spiritual spell, Jalanash still studied it. It was mainly used to deal with spiritualists who were large in number and slightly weaker. For example, most of the spiritualists in front of her needed to use incantations to cast spells. Once they were hit by the silence spell, they wouldn't be able to cast spells. However, they were really weak. Most of them only had rank E magic power. There was only one person present who was rank D. Jalanash removed the silence spell. There was a small buzz from below. Some people couldn't help but discuss it. However, this didn't affect Jalanash's speech. "Mr. Punkat, Mr. Sean, what happened just now? Why can't I make a sound?" Shara couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Silence spell. Simply put, it's a spell that prevents you from making a sound. Punkat's understanding of the silence spell was limited to this. But this girl is really scary. There were more than 30 spiritualists here, but she actually muted us all. A level 70 main character using an area of effect skill and hitting dozens of level 10 newbies within a range wasn't really anything to be proud of. However, for these newbies who thought that there were only level 10 or level 20 characters in this world, suddenly encountering one, it was only natural for a main account of this level to be shocked. After all, most of the people they encountered were at the same level as them, or just slightly stronger. Jalanash appeared quite confident on the podium. She didn't just talk about magic, but also exorcism and exorcism. After all, she was talking to a bunch of newbies. Jalanash was qualified to be their teacher, whether it was in terms of strength or experience. These people weren't just low-leveled. They had never been to high-level maps, let alone encountered high-level monsters. Pankat and Sean were listening with great interest. To them, Jalanash's lecture was like a holy scripture. Every content was enlightening, allowing them to see the light. "Miss Jalanash, do the monsters you speak of really exist? I don't think a fused spirit is a monster. I believe at least a quarter of you have seen one before. Of course, the fused spirit you've seen shouldn't be too strong. I bet it has only devoured a dozen of its kind," Jalanash said. "So you have, Miss Jalanash. I've seen stronger gathered spirits, but even I don't have the confidence to deal with those twisted monsters," Jalanash said. "Also, if you encounter something like this, you must destroy it, so I can't show you. But there's a lady with me today. She should be the strongest spirit. If you're interested, I can ask her to give you a lesson." Everyone below had disapproving looks on their faces. Spiritual body? They had indeed seen powerful spirit bodies before, and some of them had also seen or heard of aggregated spirits. In their eyes, the converged spirit was already the most powerful and terrifying spirit body. But now, Jalanash said that a spirit had come with her. Since they were able to walk with her, they were either spirit bodies that she summoned or spirit bodies that were content with their lot. How scary was a spirit like that? "Then Miss Jalanash, please open our eyes." Jalanash's lips curled up. She had been waiting for these people to say that. "Miss Pamela, it's time for you to go." A chill spread into the church, and everyone couldn't help but shiver. "It's so cold. It's a shiver from the soul." Sean's expression became serious. "Is it a frost demon?" Pankat asked in surprise. At this moment, a spirit body descended from the old and cracked ceiling. Only Shayla, who was an ordinary person, couldn't see it. Everyone else saw Pamela's arrival. "What kind of spirit is that? I've never seen it before. Is it an evil spirit formed from a frozen person?" "Miss Jalanash, do you want us to fight this spirit?" a spiritualist asked. "We can go to the empty space outside. Then what if we accidentally hurt or kill this lady? After all, spirits are weak." This spiritualist was clearly very confident in his abilities. Of course, there was a hint of malice in his tone. He had been unwilling to be muted by a little girl like Jalanash. But he had to admit that Jalanash was strong. He didn't think he could beat her, but he felt that this spirit was easy to bully. At least, that was what he thought. If he couldn't beat Jalanash herself, then he would get back at her contract spirit. He didn't know that Pamela wasn't Jalanash's contract spirit. It wouldn't even be an exaggeration for Jalanash to call Pamela teacher. After all, Ash had learned the muting spell from Pamela. And Pamela wasn't a spirit body, at least not now. She was a banshee, the only banshee in the world right now. Of course, after the second batch of 30 or so banshees finished their transformation, she wouldn't be alone anymore. Pamela floated to the empty space outside the church. The spiritualist stood before her. Miss Ash, is there anything I can pay attention to? If there's a need, I can retract the powerful spells to prevent serious injuries. Of course, the spiritualist wasn't that kind. He didn't plan on stopping. Even though he said that to Ash, he could also say that the spells he'd just used were normal spells. No, do whatever you want, Ash said coolly. Miss Pamela, please be careful too. Pamela had a faint smile. Of course I understand. I'll be careful. Careful. They weren't here to kill, so they couldn't kill here. Even though they weren't very patient with these stupid and ignorant spiritualists, they still suppressed their impulses. Then I'll attack that. Miss Pamela. Chapter 1446. This spiritualist was clearly very confident in his own abilities. Spirit ring. The spiritualist spun his finger, and a ring of light appeared above Pamela's head. The ring of light descended, trapping him with all his might. The spiritualist's lips curved. This spirit ring couldn't be avoided. Moreover, it would even cause the spirit body to burn. Struggle. The more you struggled, the tighter the ring would be. Bang! Pamela spread her arms and broke the spirit ring. Everyone's eyeballs were about to fall out of their sockets. Was this even possible? It was formed by magic. For spirits, it was like putting a laser on a human's body. But Pamela broke the spirit ring directly. Pamela's face was calm. It's my turn, right? The spiritualist on the other side instantly exploded. Danger! 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 It was an unprecedented sense of danger. Although most spiritualists weren't prophetic, there were quite a number of spiritualists who had the ability to predict danger. It was created when their magic awakened. Pamela pointed with her finger, and a wave of cold air exploded. Even though they weren't facing Pamela, the surrounding spiritualists still felt the bone-chilling coldness. The spiritualist facing Pamela had cast a defensive spell on himself, but he was instantly frozen into a block of ice. What? Someone died? Damn, the evil spirit from the supernatural organization killed someone. That's too much. Ash's face twitched. She walked to Pamela. Lady Pamela, did you kill him? No, Pamela said calmly. I just froze his soul. He's not dead. He's not dead. I can't feel his aura or magic at all. Is he really not dead? The other spiritualists were suspicious. After all, he had been frozen into a lump of ice. How could he still be alive? Who were they kidding? He'll be fine after a few hours in the sun, Pamela said. On the other hand, Xiaola had been watching the entire battle. But she only saw the spiritualist's one-man show. She couldn't see Pamela. However, she still saw the spiritualist frozen into an ice cube. What happened? Shara asked in a low voice. Punkat briefly recounted what had happened just now. That spirit is terrifying, Pancat gulped. It's even more terrifying than the evil spirit of scorching fire. They aren't even on the same level. Sean said, if that Lady Pamela really makes a move, I'm afraid none of us here will survive. That's scary. Is this spirit a contract, evil spirit of someone from the supernatural organization? Everyone's fear and curiosity towards the supernatural organization increased. Miss Ash, Lady Pamela, may I ask if you know anything about the evil spirit of fire? Sean asked. He had fought against the burning fire evil spirit a few years ago, but it was more or less luck that he was able to destroy the burning fire evil spirit. On one hand, they had made ample preparations. When the evil spirit of the burning flame was unconscious, they had 2 helpers, which was why they were able to successfully destroy the evil spirit of the burning flame. But this time, Pang Carter had invited him, so he didn't have much confidence. So he wanted to see if Jolene Nash and Pamela had something special to say. Evil spirit of scorching fire. Jolene didn't have much experience with spirits. She was an elemental witch, so she was better at high-level battles. Of course, this didn't mean that she didn't know how to deal with evil spirits. It was just that when she dealt with evil spirits, she would use her ultimate skills to kill them instantly. There are a few evil spirits of scorching fire in the evil spirit organization, Pamela mumbled. What? Sean didn't hear clearly. Nothing. It's not hard to deal with the evil spirit of scorching fire with water spells. What if they don't know water spells? Sean asked. China's Taoist charms are very effective against evil spirits of scorching fire. There are many Taoist charms for sale at 558 Downey Street. I recommend the charms from the Maoshan sect or Dragon Tiger Mountain sect. As for charms from other unknown sects, the quality and effects might not be as good as expected, Pamela said. Among them, the Clear Water Charm and Demon Suppression Charm are the best choices, but these two charms are expensive and require a lot of magic power to activate. Based on your magic power level, you can only activate 2 charms at most. If you miss, you'll be in danger. Of course, there are also the Breaking Thunder Charm and the 9 Pure Heart Charm. These charms are also quite effective. The price is moderate, and they don't use a lot of magic power. They're the most cost-effective. There are also some. Pamela's explanation was very detailed, but the method she talked about was using external forces to get rid of the evil spirit of scorching fire instead of using one's own power. If this spiritualist really had the power to get rid of the evil spirit, he wouldn't have asked her this question. Also, Pamela couldn't teach a magic here. Pamela didn't know what magic he was or how much combat experience he had. So Pamela could only tell him the most appropriate method. While Pamela was explaining, many spiritualists were taking notes. Lady Pamela, I have a mission recently and encounter a corpse dog. I major in elemental thunder magic, but I can only use the most basic spells. Is there a safer way to get rid of this corpse dog? The biggest threat of the corpse dog is its mutated body. It's close to the strength of a lion or tiger, and it has a disease causing corpse poison. At the same time, it's immune to voodoo and curses, as well as high resistance to spirits and fire. So it's very difficult for you to fight a corpse dog with your current power. But it's not absolute. The nature of a corpse dog is actually similar to that of a dog. After all, they were dogs when they were alive, so you could try to get rid of them with some traps. Also, remember to bring some glutinous rice. If you're scratched or bitten by a corpse dog, you can use the glutinous rice to detoxify and suppress the effects of the corpse poison. If the poison is too deep, you'll need the church's holy water or holy light magic to purify you. Just then, the others started to check their temperatures. Some asked Pamela, and some asked Jalanash. There were all kinds of questions, and the two of them tried their best to answer them. That's amazing, Sean said in shock. They seem to have encountered many scary things that we've heard about before, and they all know how to deal with them. The supernatural organization in Los Angeles was the organization, so most of the supernatural incidents in Los Angeles and the surrounding areas were handled by them. Many incidents were reported to them directly by the government. And most of the incidents reported to them by the government were dangerous supernatural incidents. It was completely different from the commissions ordinary people received. Naturally, the supernatural organization had a lot more experience. Missions that seemed difficult to ordinary people were just normal to the supernatural organization. Chapter 1447. The morning classes were over. Pancat and Xiao En were reluctant to leave. They'd learned a lot of things, including some monsters they'd only heard of in legends. But Jalanash and Pamela could explain how to deal with them. Of course, some monsters couldn't be defeated just because they knew how to deal with them. Jalanash and Pamela could only provide them with a possibility and a plan. They weren't guaranteed to win, and because they were in different positions, they saw things differently. With their strength, no matter how meticulous they were, it was something that only they could do. Others might not be able to do it. Pancat and Xiao En left with Shara. Then Pancat began to explain the situation to Xiao En. Are you sure the house hasn't been on fire before? Xiao En asked, confused. That house should have been built a long time ago, Shara said. There shouldn't have been a fire in the last 20 years. When I bought it, the contract didn't say that the house had been on fire before. America's real estate sales were relatively strict. At least, the laws in this area were more complete. When a house was sold, the contract would state the construction of the house, the use of the land, when the house was built, how many times it had been repaired, and whether it had been attacked by fire or water. Once the buyer found out about something wrong with the house, the buyer could ask the agent or the seller for a refund unconditionally. Shara's new house had been bought from an agent, and as the agent, it was impossible for them not to investigate. Shara also trusted the agent when she bought the house. After all, it was a relatively well-known company. That was why she didn't suspect anything. After all, the agent was the most concerned about the use of the house. If something went wrong, they'd be the ones with the biggest headache. So it was impossible for Shara not to know that someone had been burned in the house. Also, the evil spirit of burning fire can't control people, nor can it use illusions on the living. Is there a second evil spirit in that house? Pancat wondered. He'd had his suspicions before, and now Xiao En had the same suspicions. Is it possible that the evil spirit of burning fire was controlled by someone? Xiao En raised a new point of view. The evil spirit of burning fire had either died in the house, but from what Shara said, it didn't seem like the house had burned anyone. Then it was possible that someone had controlled the evil spirit of burning fire and deliberately placed it in the house. If that was the case, then it would be even more troublesome. After all, if a spiritualist had really placed the scorching fire evil spirit in that house, then not only would they have to deal with the scorching fire evil spirit, but they would also have to deal with an unknown spiritualist. There was one more thing that puzzled Pancat and Sean. Why would Shara enter 558 Downey Street? It was impossible for ordinary people to find that place, unless a spiritualist brought her in, but Shara had said that she had found 558 Downey Street by herself while shopping. This ruled out the possibility of someone bringing her in. Furthermore, both of them confirmed that Shara was indeed an ordinary person and not a witch. In this world, there was no such thing as coincidence, finding a certain mysterious area, or being blessed by the heavens with outstanding talent. 0 was 0, and 1 was 1. There was no ambiguity in it. While it's still early, let's go to 558 Downey Street. What they wanted to confirm now was whether Shala could really find 558 Downey Street. The three of them drove to Downey Street and let Shara walk in front. Ms. Shara, please lead the way. Find 558 Downey Street. When Shara heard the two say that ordinary people couldn't find 558 Downey Street, she didn't really believe it, because she had found it and even bought something. She had a good memory, and she could recognize the numbers of all the shops. She didn't believe that she would go the wrong way this time. But that was the truth. When she searched for 558 Downey Street again, she realized that she couldn't find the number no matter how hard she tried. Damn, what went wrong? Shara walked back and forth on Downey Street 3 or 4 times, but still couldn't find it. She couldn't find it? How is that possible? Did the shop move away? Shara asked, confused. No, it's still there. Pancat shook his head. Just then, Shara suddenly saw a few familiar figures. Wasn't that Chun Zhao, Fei Lai, and their 2 children? It seemed that they were also shopping here. Hi, Mr. Chun, Miss Fei Lai. Chun Zhao looked up and saw Shara. Then he looked at Pancat and Xiao and behind her. There seemed to be magic waves on them, but they weren't strong. Miss Shara, are you in trouble? They're my friends. Real friends? Chun Zhao hugged Jerlin, but he still looked at Pancat and Xiao and warily. He thought that the two had threatened Shara and wanted to do something to her. Shara was forced to tell the truth. Real friends. Shara understood what Chun Zhao was trying to say. Shara, why don't you come to my house? Chun Zhao and I moved. Thank you for saving me from more pain last time. I haven't had the chance to thank you properly, Fei Lai said. I still have something to do. Shara turned her head hesitantly and looked at Pancat and Xiao and Ms. Fei Lai, why don't you go stay at a friend's house for a few days? Pancat asked. We'll take care of the rest. Call me. Is that okay? No problem. Don't worry. Mr. Chun, Ms. Fei Lai, is it convenient for me to stay there for a few days? No problem. You can stay as long as you want. Aunt Shara, Jerlin's birthday is coming up. Can you wait for Jerlin's birthday party before you leave? Jerlin looked at Shara with watery eyes. Jerlin, when's your birthday? Shara liked Jerlin the moment she saw her. She wanted to give birth to such a cute princess in the future. Chun Zhao was relieved that she wasn't being threatened. It seemed that he'd thought too much. If she was being threatened, Shara wouldn't be walking on the street like this. Shara followed Chen Zhao's family to Mingwei Villa. Shara already knew that Chen Zhao was rich. After all, Chen Zhao had paid her $200,000 for less than 48 hours of work. However, when she saw Mingwei Villa and Mingwei Beach, as well as the yacht parked at the pier, she was still shocked. She was still shocked. Mingwei Villa was too beautiful, and its scale was beyond her imagination. Please remember the original domain name of this book, mobile version. Chapter 1448. She thought that Mirror Lake Villa was good enough. When Mirror Lake Villa had been destroyed by the witch's tropical storm, Shara had felt it was a pity. However, her imagination had been limited by poverty. Living here was really a top-notch enjoyment. It wasn't physical. For a normal person, 3 meals a day and a bed were enough to satisfy a person's physical needs. What she truly enjoyed was mental. Walking to the courtyard, she could see the surging waves. She only needed to take the elevator to the beach. Sunlight, sand, and waves all belonged to her family. Shara held a goblet of red wine and leaned against the railing with Fei Lai. They enjoyed the wine and chatted. Shara had never tasted such delicious red wine before. She hadn't heard of the nameless wine, but she knew that it was definitely expensive. In the shallow waters, Shara saw Chen Zhao with little Jerlin and Larissa. Jerlin could swim, but she wasn't completely used to the waves. Seawater was more buoyant than fresh water, but because of the changing tides, the waves were uneven, so little Jerlin would still choke. Of course, she still swam with all her might. Chen Zhao stood beside Jerlin and didn't interfere with her practice. Larissa's belly was being dragged by Chen Zhao. Her limbs were paddling randomly in the water. However, she clearly hadn't mastered swimming yet. In this aspect, little Larissa couldn't compare to little Jerlin. Back then, Chen Zhao hadn't taught little Jerlin at all. It was as if she was born to swim. Larissa, on the other hand, couldn't. As soon as Chen Zhao let go, she would sink. Of course, the environment in Mirror Lake was different from the waves. Larissa was like her sister. She also liked to play in the water. Dad, look, look. Jerlin suddenly cried out in excitement and pointed not far away. Chen Zhao looked in Jerlin's direction and saw a few bottlenose dolphins leaping into the waves ahead. There were 6 of them. 2 of them were bigger, around 2 meters long. 4 of them were young dolphins. This should be a small dolphin family. The 2 bigger dolphins were probably the children of the other 4. Most dolphins were very curious and friendly to humans. Killer whales belonged to the dolphin category, not the whales that everyone thought. Moreover, they had a very high IQ. People's impression of dolphins was that they were naughty and occasionally helped shipwreck victims. The dolphins had clearly noticed Chen Zhao and his 2 kids too. They immediately surrounded them. The 2 leading dolphins, the father and mother, let out childlike cries and swam toward Chen Zhao, little Jerlin, and little Larissa without any explanation. When it reached the 3, it slowed down. Chen Zhao didn't sense any malice, but he was still careful. However, Chen Zhao's worries were unnecessary. He could hear their voices saying, "Come on my back, come on my back." They kept repeating the same words. Little Jerlin, hold their dorsal fins. Just then, Chen Zhao grabbed a dolphin's dorsal fin and it started swimming towards the shore. Little Jerlin was also pulled to the shore by the dolphin. The dolphin father and mother had obviously misunderstood. They thought that Chen Zhao, little Jerlin, and little Larissa were refugees. Chen Zhao was touched. Inexplicably, he was moved by her words. The 4 little dolphins behind also followed their father and mother. Just then, Chen Zhao felt the 5 tiger generals approach. Chen Zhao's eyes hardened. He immediately sent a warning to the 5 tiger generals with Little World. Go away. Don't hurt this family. The 5 tiger generals didn't even have time to show themselves before they were chased away. Actually, they didn't plan to hurt the dolphin family. Their intelligence wasn't low now. They could tell good from bad. They just wanted to come and play with Chen Zhao. Fine, Chen Zhao had misunderstood them, but the dolphin family would inevitably be frightened. Chen Zhao didn't want to chase this kind family away. The father and mother sent Chen Zhao and little Jerlin to the beach directly. Then they moved their bodies with difficulty try to return to the sea. Just then, a wave came and pushed them a few more meters onto the beach. They seemed to be struggling. Chun Zhao immediately went up and pulled the father's tail, trying to pull it back into the sea. Little Jerlin also came up and helped pull the mother back into the sea. Chun Zhao smiled bitterly. He was carrying little Larissa, so he couldn't pull both of them at the same time. Little Jerlin clearly couldn't move. Chun Zhao secretly cast a spell and used countless threads to wrap around the mother's tail. Then the mother and daughter pulled the father and mother back in the sea together. Just then, Feilai and Shera each came down with a bucket. Chun Zhao was stunned. Then he realized that their buckets were filled with fish. Chun, tell them to come back, Feilai called. Chun Zhao didn't leave when he saw the parents return to the sea. He walked to the shallow area and clapped his hands. Thank you for saving us. This is our gift. Shera's expression was strange. Could the dolphins understand? However, she did not expect that the dolphins would really come over. They weren't afraid at all and swam to Chun Zhao's side. Feilai and Shera came over too. Then they started taking the fish out of the buckets. The water was just right, not even up to Chun Zhao's waist. The dolphins wouldn't be stranded at this level. Little Jerlin also came over to help split the fish. Hee hee, Daddy, kiss me, kiss me, kiss me. What's a kiss? Did they name the dolphin so soon? Little Jerlin was playing with a little dolphin about 80 centimeters long. The little dolphin seemed to like Jerlin's hug too. Shera looked at the family with indescribable envy. After all, not everyone had such an experience. Suddenly, Shera saw a huge fin appear in the sea. Shera's expression changed drastically. Shark, shark, run, shark. The dolphin family was frightened too. They also noticed the shark's fin and hurriedly ran toward the beach. At the same time, they cried out as if to warn Chun Zhao's family. Old Guan was here. He was here to fight for Chun Zhao's favor. Shera realized that Chun Zhao's family didn't plan to run at all. Then she saw a great white shark rush into the shallow water. Its huge body made people's scalps go numb. It was too big, frighteningly big. Its bloody mouth was less than 2 meters away from them. Chapter 1449. In Shera's eyes, the great white shark could swallow Jerlin whole with just a twist. But the shark didn't. Half of its body was stuck in the water, and its tail kept swinging. Chun Zhao also looked at Guan Laoda in annoyance. You came here to fight for attention and got yourself stranded. Are you stupid? Chun Zhao threw a few fish into Guan Laoda's mouth. They weren't even enough to fill his teeth. Then he walked behind Guan Laoda and dragged him back to the deep water. The dolphin family was still a little frightened. Shera was dumbfounded. That great white shark was their family's pet? You're not afraid of sharks? That a great white shark? Shera asked. Why should we be afraid of sharks? Jerlin asked, confused. In her eyes, any family pet could be trusted. Why should they be afraid? I'm a beast tamer, Chun Zhao said casually. Shera really believed him. After all, great white sharks were infamous. If such an existence could be tamed, what else couldn't be tamed? Soon, the dolphin family swam over and started playing with Chun Zhao's family again. Soon, Jerlin could already ride on the dolphins and let them play with her. Under the night sky, Punkat and Sean entered Shera's house. The lights were off in the entire house. Both of them had rich experience in exorcism. Evil spirits usually liked to wander in the dark. If there was light in the house, they would actively hide or destroy the light source. Suddenly, the two heard movement. It came from Shera's bedroom. Coming, the two stood up at the same time. Cautiously arriving outside Shera's bedroom, Punkat gently pushed open the door. There was a woman sitting at the dresser. Miss Shera? Seeing the figure, Punkat subconsciously thought it was Shera. No, it's not Miss Shera. Sean shook his head. He was more rational now. Punkat also came back to his senses. Right, Shera had gone to a friend's house. Why would she be here? Isn't that an evil spirit of fire? As expected, there's more than one evil spirit of fire pestering Miss Shera, Punkat whispered. Pankat said in a low voice. Then the one who created the illusion should be this evil spirit. The figure was slowly combing his long hair with a comb. Pankat held a handful of magic phosphor in his hand, while Sean took out a talisman. The charm was bought at $5.58, Downing Street today. This charm could be activated with just a little bit of magic power, and it had decent lethality. Sean gestured to Punkat and began the countdown. 3, 2, 1. The two of them rushed in at the same time. Pun Carter shouted loudly and scattered the magic phosphor in his hand. Crash! The magic phosphorescence burst into flames, but when the flames disappeared, so did the ghostly figure. "Where's the evil spirit?" Punkat asked curiously. He didn't believe that a handful of magic phosphor could destroy that evil spirit. At this time, Punkat noticed that a comb had appeared in Shaoan's hand. He was slowly combing his hair. Pang Carter's hair stood on end as he hurriedly retreated. At the same time, he quickly took out a handful of magic phosphor and sprayed it at Sean. Crash! Sean screamed in pain. Although magical phosphor was mainly used to attack spirits and cast some spells, it still had a certain lethality to humans. Teacher Sean, Punkat didn't see any spirit fly out of Sean's body, and the scream he heard just now was Sean's. Just as Punkat stepped forward to help Sean up, someone suddenly patted his shoulder. "Punkat, what are you doing?" Sean's voice came from behind. Punkat froze for a moment and turned around to find Sean standing behind him. He looked down and saw that Sean, who should have been accidentally injured by his magic phosphor, had disappeared, and Sean, who was standing behind him, was unharmed. Punkat immediately retreated and looked at Sean in horror. You, Punkat, what are you doing?" Sean asked in confusion. "Are you really Sean?" "Of course I am. What the hell are you doing?" Punkat's eyes flickered. What was going on? Did he fall for an illusion? Or was Sean possessed by an evil spirit? It should be known that spiritualists would almost never be possessed. If a spiritualist was possessed by an evil spirit, the evil spirit would be extremely powerful. Furthermore, a spiritualist who was possessed by an evil spirit would become extremely terrifying. Suddenly, Sean saw that there was a comb in Punkat's hair. During the day, Punkat had told him that this comb had traces of magic on it. Sean saw that Punkat's expression was a little strange. Evil spirit, retreat. Sean immediately cast out a talisman. Punkat's expression was very strange. The talisman landed on Punkat's forehead. Punkat's body went limp and he fell to the ground. Sean heaved a sigh of relief. He walked over to Punkat and flipped him over. Suddenly, Sean saw a figure on the ground. He turned around and saw Punkat. Punkat was holding a baseball bat high in his hands. "You." Sean looked back again and saw Punkat, who should have been killed by the talisman. Punkat's figure was nowhere to be seen. The talisman was stuck on the wall. "Oh no, Duong." Punkat's baseball bat was already swinging at Sean's head. Sean covered his head and fell to the ground, but his consciousness was still very clear. Sean kicked Punkat's calf with both feet, causing Punkat to fall heavily to the ground. Punkat's head hit the ground, and he immediately woke up. "Sean? What happened to you?" "You hit me, bastard." Sean's face was pale. At this moment, his head and face were covered in blood. "Me? I hit you?" Punkat looked at Sean in surprise. "No, you've been possessed by an evil spirit." "No, you've been possessed by an evil spirit." "I haven't. You've been possessed by an evil spirit." "Impossible. My consciousness is very clear. You're the one who's been controlled." The two of them were blaming each other, but after arguing for a while, they realized that perhaps both of them had been blinded by an illusion, causing them to kill each other. Punkat's injuries were still fine, but Sean's head had been hit by the baseball bat. "Call an ambulance." "If we don't call an ambulance, I'll die," Sean said weakly. At this moment, Sean's injuries were very serious. Punkat picked up the phone and dialed the emergency number. But a strange laughter came from the phone. Punkat was startled and quickly threw the phone away. "What's wrong?" "Damn it. The illusion still hasn't disappeared." Punkat's face was solemn. Sean's expression also changed slightly. "No matter what appears in front of you, no matter what I become, don't make a move. Maybe we're still in an illusion." Chapter 1450. Damn it, where did I go wrong? Punkat's expression was grave. Sean also did not understand when he had fallen for the illusion. Both of them were at a loss. Illusions were not something that could be easily used, and it was even more impossible to trick the other party without them realizing it. The terrifying thing about illusions was that it was very difficult to distinguish between real and fake. It was like seeing a person brandishing a knife at you in an illusion. You knew that it was fake. But how could you completely ignore this kind of attack? Sean held his head and leaned against the corner in pain. Pancat suddenly saw a strange smile appear on Sean's face. Sean's body was fusing into the wall. Illusion. Illusion. This is an illusion. Pancat kept telling himself that it was an illusion. Do you still think that it's an illusion? My stupid disciple. Sean's smile suddenly became strange. I wanted to kill you for a long time, but I never had the chance. Now, the chance has finally come. Kill me? Why? Pancat suddenly lost control of his emotions. Why? Because I'm your teacher, but you're even more outstanding than me. I hate people who are more outstanding than me, especially when they're my disciple. It's fake, it's fake. Pancat kept telling himself that in his heart, but his consciousness was becoming chaotic. At the same time, Sean, who had been leaning against the wall and panting, suddenly looked at Pancat with a strange expression on his face. That sinister and strange smile made his disciple feel strange and terrifying. Teacher, do you really think it's because I fell for an illusion? That's just an excuse. I deliberately attacked you and then blamed it on an illusion. A smile appeared on Pancat's face. Why? You? No. This is an illusion. Damn it. Sean immediately closed his eyes. Illusion? Do you really think that someone could cast an illusion on them without them knowing? Pancat sneered at Sean. Why did you do that? Because you've been hiding something from me. Every time you teach me magic, you'd asterisk and then bastard. And every time I ask for your help, you always ask for a cut. You greedy bastard. This time, I finally don't have to give you a cut anymore, Pancat said with a smile. Sean hid his hands behind his back and quietly took out an enchanted dagger. Reason told Sean that this was all fake, all an illusion. However, Shaoan's thoughts were already in a state of chaos. It seemed as if Pancat really was going to kill him. Pun Carter pounced at Sean, who pulled out his dagger and stabbed it into Pun Carter's chest. Punket's eyes widened as he looked down at his own chest, then looked up at Sean in shock. Finally, Pancat's body slumped to the ground. Shao and stood up unsteadily, but in the next moment, he lost all his strength and fell to the ground. Suddenly, Pancart, who should have been dead, pulled out his dagger and purposely splashed his blood. Along with the blood, the last bit of his magic phosphor was also splattered. The moment the magic phosphor exploded, Pancat slashed the wooden comb on the dressing table with his dagger. The wooden comb was split in half. Everything had returned to its original calm. Pancat picked up the phone with much difficulty. Here. We need an ambulance here. Address. Address is... After all, his teacher was his teacher. He had found the reason so quickly. The moment Sean stabbed the dagger into Pancat, he told him the reason. It was all because of the wooden comb. It was also the most suspicious thing they had come into contact with today. It was not the work of an evil spirit, but the wooden comb was a magic tool. They had made a mistake when they investigated the wooden comb before. They had discovered that the wooden comb had the aura of magic, but there was no trace of an evil spirit, so they should have noticed it. The wooden comb would cause illusions to those who came into contact with it. There was no evil spirit in this house. The so-called burning evil spirit was just their imagination. When Sean stabbed the dagger into Punket's chest, he deliberately missed it and said something about the comb. Sean realized that there was something wrong with the comb, but he was trapped in an illusion at the time, so it was impossible for him to destroy the comb. Only by waking Pancat up from the illusion could they destroy the wooden comb. It had to be said that this was a very risky move. Fortunately, they succeeded. Sean, teacher, are you okay? Pancat sat on the ground with difficulty. Sean closed his eyes and lay on the ground. I'm fine, but I don't dare open my eyes. I'm afraid of falling into an illusion again. I've already destroyed the comb, Pancat said. What's the deal with this comb? The ringing of the phone woke Shara up. She looked at the time and saw that it was past 2 in the morning. Shara reluctantly picked up the phone. Hello, are you Miss Shara? Yes, I am. Do you know Pancat and Sean? I do. They are in the hospital now. Hospital? What happened? Xiao La was startled, and her drowsiness had receded quite a bit. They were in your house and then attacked each other. What's going on? That's what the police want to know. Where are you now? Do you have time to talk? I'm not in downtown Los Angeles. I'm afraid I'll have to wait until tomorrow to return to Los Angeles. Well, I hope you can come to the police station tomorrow. Shara's thoughts were a little chaotic. She vaguely sensed that it was likely that Punkat and Sean were hallucinating like her, and then they killed each other. The next day, Shara hurried to the police station and communicated with the police. Of course, it was just a simple statement. After all, she was not at the scene at the time, so there was no suspicion. In the statement, she claimed that she was only temporarily lending the house to Punkat and Sean for them to stay in her house. Although the police were puzzled by the fight between Punkat and Sean, they did not make things too difficult for Shara. Shara went to the hospital to see Punkat and Sean. Mr. Punkat, what's going on? We miscalculated. It's your comb. It's an evil magic tool. Punkat was very weak now because he had been stabbed in the chest. Although it did not hit a vital point, he had lost a lot of blood. Although he was saved, he was still very weak. Both Sean and I were under an illusion, and then we fought each other. That comb? I'm going to destroy that comb now. Mobile version. Chapter 1451. Then, Xiao La came to Xiaoan's ward, and he said the same thing. Xiao La quickly returned to her home. But no matter how she searched, she couldn't find the comb. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Xiao La came to the door and saw two policemen outside. Hello. Xiao La realized they were the two policemen who had taken her statement at the police station. Hello, Miss Xiao La. This morning, we took some things from your house for inspection and fingerprints. I'm sorry we didn't tell you beforehand. Now, the things have been returned to the owner, one of the policemen said. Xiao La saw a small cardboard box behind the two policemen. If there's anything missing, please contact us. If we confirm that it was lost due to our negligence, we will compensate you according to the price. Thank you. Do you need us to help you move the box in? No, thank you. After the two policemen left, Xiao La moved the box back to her house. The moment she opened the box, Xiao La's expression changed, because Punkat and Sean had told her that the wooden comb should have been broken. But now, the comb was placed perfectly in the box, wrapped in a plastic bag. Xiao La was shocked and quickly took a few steps back. Suddenly, Xiao La felt something behind her. She turned around and saw the two policemen standing at the door. They had a strange smile on their faces. Why are you here? The two policemen slowly raised their heads. Their pupils rolled up, and they still had that strange smile on their faces. Xiao La realized something was wrong. The two policemen had also touched the comb. Then, the two policemen pulled out their guns. But they didn't aim at Xiao La. Instead, they aimed at their own temples. Bang, blood and brain matter splattered in front of Xiao La. Xiao La was so scared that she lost her mind. She sat on the ground and screamed in fear. But the next moment, Xiao La raised her head again and realized the two policemen's bodies were gone. There wasn't even a trace of blood at the door. Illusion. The hallucination came again. Xiao La was about to collapse. She ran out of the house. She didn't know where she was going or where she should hide. She just wanted to escape this place, escape this nightmarish home. Xiao La fled in all directions in a panic. But in the community, everything was peaceful and peaceful. It was completely out of place with the terrified and uneasy Shara. Shara also calmed down a little. At this moment, a ball rolled past Shayla and on the sidewalk. Shayla turned around and saw a little girl standing there. Sister, can you help me pick it up? Just as Xiao La was about to walk over to pick up the ball, she suddenly heard the sound of a car braking. Xiao La turned her head and saw a car coming towards her. Hey Chun, did you know? Sherlock's in a hospital. Chun Zhao was stunned when he received Four's call. Shara had just left his house today. What happened to her? Car accident. The culprit said that Xiao La suddenly ran into the motorway, and the car behind her couldn't stop in time. What's the situation now? He just came out of the emergency room. He's still alive for now, Four said. Then I'll go see her, Chun Zhao said after some thought. Although he did not have a deep friendship with Xiao La, they were at least friends. Plus, Shara had helped when Fei Lai was in labor. Chun Zhao told Fei Lai. Fei Lai also wanted to go see Shara. After all, she was closer to Shara. Shara had been at their house yesterday, and Fei Lai had a good conversation with her. Chun Zhao had no objections. He brought Fei Lai and the two kids to the hospital. 4. Fei Lai and I are at the hospital. Which room is Shara in? Room 309, For said over the phone. Chun Zhao's family went to room 309, but they did not see Shara. There were traces of someone lying on the bed, but Shara was nowhere to be seen. Where did Shara go? I don't know. Maybe she went to the toilet. Chun Zhao shrugged. Let's wait. He thought that Shara would be back soon, but after 10 minutes, she still did not come back. Chun Zhao could only call 4 again. 4. Shara isn't in the room. We've waited for 10 minutes, but she's still not back. Did she go for a checkup? Let me check. 4 was also confused. A few minutes later, she replied, No, I checked. Shara didn't go for any checkup. She should be in the room getting in 4. Chun Zhao looked. The 4 stand was still there, and so was the 4 bottle. However, Shara was not there. No, wait, I'll come. A while later, 4 arrived. Seeing the empty room, she was also confused. That's weird. Shara is so badly injured. Where could she go? 4 took out her phone and called Shara. Shara, what's wrong? Where are you? I'm discharged. It's urgent. With that, Shara hung up. 4 looked at the phone. What's wrong with her? She's so impatient. She hung up right away. Is she in some trouble? Chun Zhao asked. No, what trouble can she have? She's the best anesthesiologist in our hospital. Her income is even higher than mine. In America, doctors were high-income people. Among doctors, anesthesiologists, and dentists had the highest average income. An extremely skilled anesthesiologist like Shara could earn close to $300,000 a year. In 4's opinion, Shara had a proper job, a stable income, no bad habits, and a high EQ. She probably wouldn't cause any trouble. But her leg injury is really serious, 4 said. She can't leave the hospital alone. Let's go check the surveillance, Chun Zhao said. Not everyone could see the surveillance, but Chun Zhao still had some privileges in Chantilly Hospital. So, they quickly saw the surveillance. 2 patients had come to Shara's room. One had gauze wrapped around his head, while the other had gauze wrapped around his chest. Not long after entering the room, they pushed Shara out in a wheelchair. Was Shayla kidnapped? 4 guessed. They're Shara's friends. I've seen them before, Chun Zhao said. I'm still worried. I think we should call the police. Do you know where Shara's house is? I'll go take a look, Chun Zhao said. 4. Send Fei Lai and my 2 babies home today. Chun Zhao remembered that the 2 people with Shara had magical waves on them, so he suspected that Shara had encountered some supernatural event. Chapter 1452. We have to go back as soon as possible. We have to destroy the comb as soon as possible, Sean said anxiously. Teacher Sean, what's going on? Pancat and Xia La were originally in the hospital, preparing to recuperate. However, Sean anxiously pulled the 2 of them out of the hospital. I know what's going on, Sean said. That wooden comb is not a magic tool. It's an evil channel. What do you mean? I don't understand. Pancat tilted his head and looked at Sean. I made a phone call today and asked my friend, Sean said anxiously. That comb is not a magic tool, but a medium. Anyone who comes into contact with the comb will be marked and then killed by evil illusions. Our souls will also be drawn to that evil existence through the medium, Sean said hurriedly. Evil existence? What is that? Maybe it's the legendary demon. Sean's expression was very ugly. Does that mean we just need to destroy the comb? Maybe. Sean was not very sure. After all, he had never encountered such a thing before. All the information he had now came from his friend. The more people died, the greater the effect of the medium. Sean and Pancat had already found it difficult to resist yesterday. They had experienced the illusion produced by the evil power and knew very well how terrible it was. If they could not solve the problem as soon as possible, then they would be tortured by the evil power and eventually have no choice but to commit suicide. At least that was what his friend said. When they arrived at Xia La's house, a trace of fear appeared on the faces of the 3. All 3 of them had been tortured by the illusion. If possible, they really did not want to face that terrible illusion again. But they had no choice. They could only muster up their courage. Can you walk? Sean turned to look at Shayla. I can. Xiaola said with a cane. She had just been in a car accident today, and her injuries were still very serious. But they could not do without her, because she was the owner of the wooden comb. As the owner of the medium, she had the right to destroy the comb. Pancat mustered up the courage to open the door. The room was completely dark, without any light. The three of them looked at each other and finally stepped into the room. However, the moment they stepped into the room, they were plunged into darkness. Damn it, why is it so dark? Shayla immediately took out her phone and turned on the flashlight. The surroundings immediately lit up. However, when they looked around, they realized that it wasn't Shayla's house. Instead, it was a wilderness surrounded by knee-high weeds. There was still a dark forest ahead. What's going on? Where's this place? Why are we here? Both Punkat and Shayla were stunned by the scene before them. They didn't understand. They had just stepped into the house a moment ago, and the next moment, they were in this strange place. All of this was too strange. Sean's expression was solemn. That friend of mine once said that if an evil existence obtains a soul through a medium, then its power will greatly increase, and it is possible to pull people into a different space. In that space, we will face that evil existence directly. What? That's impossible. All three of us who came into contact with the wooden comb are still alive. How could the evil existence you mentioned obtain a soul? We weren't the only ones who came into contact with the wooden comb. Today, the wooden comb was taken away by the police. There should be many police officers who came into contact with the wooden comb. You're saying that evil existence killed the police officers. It's very likely that there's more than one. Sean's expression became even more solemn. He didn't have much hope for this operation, not to mention that they were all in poor condition. Even if they were in good condition, it would be very difficult for them to win. What would we do now? Shayla looked at the two of them in fear. Stall for time. Sean said, time in the different space is slower than the outside world, but time will still pass. When the sun rises in the outside world, the evil existence probably won't be able to maintain this space, and we will have a chance to escape. However, the owner of this place clearly didn't intend to stall for time. Something began to appear in the dark forest. It was a group of humanoid creatures with brown fur on their bodies. Their heads looked like goats, and their feet looked like goat hooves. However, their hands had 4 fingers. Stillborn monsters. Sean's body trembled. What? Shayla clearly hadn't heard of them. Satan's fanatics, stillborn monsters. Punkat also had a look of horror on his face. It is said that Satan's fanatics will rape women and make them pregnant. When the women give birth, they will leave behind a stillborn child, and then sacrifice the stillborn child to Satan. Eventually, they will awaken in hell and become Satan's evil servant. When Shayla heard this disgusting process, her whole body trembled. Among the group of stillborn monsters, there was a particularly tall, stillborn monster. It was nearly 6 meters tall, and the 2 horns on its head were like a spiral. It held a large machete in both hands. Prey. I have already smelled the prey. The prey has fallen into our trap. Children, find a prey and offer it to our master, the great Mikados. The 3 of them wished they could grow another leg, but they were powerless. They were all injured and couldn't move easily. Soon they were found. These stillborn monsters' vision in the dark was much better than that of humans. Punkat and Sean immediately used their special skills. A stillborn monster pounced at Punkat, and Sean threw out a handful of magic phosphor. The magic phosphor instantly covered the stillborn monster. But how could these filthy creatures be killed by a mere magic phosphor? There were some burns on the stillborn monster's body, but they weren't serious. Punkat took out a talisman and shot it at the stillborn monster. The talisman landed on the stillborn monster's body, and it immediately howled. The other stillborn monsters surrounded them, but they didn't attack. Instead, they watched Sean and Punkat fight with their companions. No, one talisman can't kill it. Then use more talismans. I don't believe we can't kill it. This time, they weren't unprepared. They had bought a large number of talismans. Punkat threw out another 3 talismans, which landed on the stillborn monster's body. The stillborn monster finally fell to the ground, its body constantly twitching. The other stillborn monsters didn't rescue it. Instead, They surrounded it and ate its companions. Please remember this book's domain name. Nine Heavens Godly Emperor mobile version website. Chapter 1453. Seeing these stillbirth monsters devouring their own kind. Punkat, Sean, and Shayla's faces were pale. They were already doing their best to deal with a single stillbirth monster. What's more, there were thousands of them here. In the wilderness outside the forest, there were terrifying eyes everywhere. This was a hopeless situation. There was no chance of winning. At this moment, a deafening roar came from the depths of the dark forest. A huge shadow swept across the forest and appeared above the wilderness with a roar. The leader of the huge stillbirth monsters and the rest of the army all knelt on the ground when they saw this figure. Great Lord Mikadas, your servant Dagon Byros pays his sincere respects to you, the leader of the stillbirth monsters shouted. The other stillbirth monsters seemed to be unable to speak, so they made strange noises. Mikadas descended from the sky, his huge body making a roaring sound. The three of them were already frightened. This monster called Mikadas was over 100 meters long and had two heads. It looked like a dragon and a snake. Its neck was slender and took up almost half the length of its body. Humans, I like them, whether it's their flesh and soul. Mikadas stretched out his slender neck and went in front of Shayla, Punkat, and Sean. The three of them felt cold, as if they felt the call of death. I feel your fear and despair. Makata's other head stretched out. More fear, more despair. Only then can you become more delicious food. Sean gathered his courage and threw a bag of magic phosphorus at Mikadas, detonating it at the same time. But after the explosion, Mikadas was unscathed. Not only was Mikadas not angry, he laughed instead. His voice was filled with joy. Yes, joy. Did you come up with this to make me happy? Very good, very interesting little trick. Mikadas laughed and said, however, this stupid behavior offends me. Suddenly, Mikadas opened his mouth and wrapped his huge tongue around Sean. Teacher Sean. Punkat was shocked and anxious, but also full of powerlessness. They had no chance of winning, no hope. Sean had already been swallowed by Mikadas, and Shara and Punkat could vaguely hear Sean's screams. But his screams were too short. Which one of you wants to be next? I will bestow upon you the glory of becoming food. Only a ghost would want to be your food. Of course, Mikadas obviously wouldn't consider their inner thoughts. Two huge heads stretched out. Don't worry, I ate too quickly just now, so I didn't get to taste it. But this time, I will taste it slowly and let you fully experience the process of death and the pain. Xiala was so frightened that she sat paralyzed on the ground. Pankat's condition was not much better than Xiala's. Looking at the ferocious mouth that was about to envelop them, the two of them no longer had any hope. But at that moment, Makata's movements suddenly paused, and two pairs of eyes stared at the darkness behind Shara and Punkat. Sorry, did I disturb you? An abrupt voice sounded. Xiala's pupils constricted. Why was this voice so familiar? Then a figure walked out of the fog. Xiala cried out in alarm. How could it be him? Chun Zhao strolled over. This place looks very lively. Did I miss something? Food. Another food? Mikadas grinned. How come it's you? Chun? Xiala was also confused. She didn't understand why Chun Zhao would appear here. I got your address from 4. I thought you might be in some trouble, so I came to your house. Seeing that your door was open, I came in directly. But somehow I ended up here. By the way, what is this place? Xiala sighed. She didn't expect Chun Zhao to come here. To be honest, she had a good impression of Chun Zhao. She didn't want to drag Chun Zhao down with her. After all, Chun Zhao had 2 cute children. She didn't want them to lose their father. Human, this is my territory, and you'll also be my food. Mikadas stretched his head over. Xiala and Punkat realized that Chun Zhao actually didn't feel any fear when facing this monster. Bastard. Chun Zhao looked at Mikadas in surprise. You have the aura of a dragon and another aura. Roar. Mikadas was furious. What did you just say? Just then, Dagon Byros walked over. Human, I didn't think we'd meet again. Dagon, you know this human? The great Mikadas, Dagon Byros said. This is the human who destroyed my reflection medium last time. It's because of him that your plan to descend to the human world failed. So smelly. Chen Zhao covered his nose and took a few steps back. Who are you? Do we know each other? Human, your forgetfulness can't save your life. The one you defeated last time was just a clone of mine, Dagon Byros said. Dagon Byros said, Great Makardas, please give your servant a chance to wash away the shame of the past. Go, but I want his soul. Yes, Mikadas. Dagon Byros's eyes glowed green. Human, if you can defeat my servant, I'll let you leave, Mikadas said in a mocking tone. I see. Chen Zhao rubbed his chin. Should I be grateful for your gift now? Shara and Pancat were both excited, but they were soon disappointed. The difference between Chen Zhao and Dagon Byros was too great. Dagon Byros was 6 meters tall. Compared to Chen Zhao, it was like comparing a giant to a baby. Such a difference in height couldn't be made up for, even though Dagon Byros had said that Chen Zhao had defeated his clone. However, it was clear that Chen Zhao had only defeated a fraction of Dagon Byros' power. Right now, Chen Zhao was facing a demon at its peak. For example, Pancat and Sean had tried their best, but they could only subdue an ordinary stillbirth monster. Dagon Byros clearly wasn't someone ordinary stillbirth monsters could compare to. Thus, the two didn't have any hope that Chen Zhao could win. Chen Zhao walked forward and faced Dagon Byros. Human, are you ready to die? I'm ready. Come, use your greatest power to kill me. Chen Zhao spread his arms. Chapter 1454. Dagon Byros spread his arms. Black clouds of air began to gather in his palms. Just then, another pair of arms stretched out from under his armpits. He also spread his arms, and 2 more black clouds appeared. After a few seconds, the 4 arms were raised high above his head. The 4 clouds of air began to close. Even Shara and Pancat could feel the terrifying aura. Dagon Byros shouted, Human, let the darkness devour you. A stone sword suddenly appeared in Chen Zhao's hand. He threw it with all his might. Whoosh! The stone sword pierced through Dagon Byros' head. Dagon Byros' expression instantly froze, and his body fell backwards. The black clouds of air gradually dissipated. Everyone's expressions froze. They stared at Chen Zhao, dumbfounded. It was over? Just like that? Where was the battle? Ravage? No, not at all. In Shara and Pankit's eyes, the terrifying Dagon Byros had been killed so easily. He died under a sword, and just like that, he was casually tossed to the side. Or could it be that this was simply an accident? Chen Zhao's victory was just a coincidence. Anyone would be able to do it, right? I won. Chen Zhao looked at Shara and Pancat with a smile. Let's go. Huh? Shara and Pancat still couldn't believe it. They turned around and looked at Mikadas in shock. Makadas's eyes glowed fiercely, but he didn't say anything. Chen Zhao still had a smile on his face. Shara and Pancat hurried to Chen Zhao's side and followed him closely. Shara and Pancat kept staring at Chen Zhao. Stop. I've changed my mind. Of course, Mikadas wouldn't let them go. He'd never considered this matter from the beginning. Shara and Pancat were shocked. Was that really the case? They all looked at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao also stopped and turned to Mikadas, as if he'd known this would happen. Me too. I've decided to kill all of you. Shara and Pancat were stunned. They were also filled with terror. Kill all of them? Kill all of these demons? Kill these countless stillbirth monsters and the master of these stillbirth monsters, Mikadas? This gigantic monster? If you can kill all my servants, I'll let you go, Mikadas said in a mocking tone. This time, Shara and Pancat didn't take it seriously. Even if Chen Zhao could kill them all, Mikadas probably wouldn't keep his promise, let alone whether Chen Zhao could kill all of them. Chen Zhao shook his head. No, not just them. You're my prey too. Roar. Prey? Are you treating me as prey? Ignorant and pathetic human. How dare you call me prey? Bastard. Who do you think you are? Kill. 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 Kill them all. Mikadas roared and ordered his army of stillbirth monsters. Shera and Punkat felt that Chun Zhao was too impulsive. There was no benefit in angering Mikados at this point. Looking at the suffocating army of dead fetus monsters pressing forward, Lin Fan felt a chill run down his spine. Once again, Shera and Punkat felt the approach of death. Doppelganger. In the blink of an eye, Chun Zhao turned into 7. Cloning technique? Pankit's eyes lit up, but soon his eyes dimmed. Even though Chun Zhao knew how to clone himself, even if he became 7, it was still disproportionate to the thousands of stillbirth monsters. When the stillbirth monsters approached, the 7 Chun Zhao raised their arms at the same time. 1,000 sword control. Gray light bloomed in an instant. Shera and Punkit's jaws dropped. They watched in shock as the thousands of swords flashed across the night sky, tearing apart the darkness. Even Mikados had a look of disbelief on his face. The stillbirth monsters were decapitated in droves. In the blink of an eye, half of them were dead. To Shera and Punkat, this was an unprecedented shock, especially Punkat. He and Sean had barely killed a stillbirth monster together. However, the man in front of him had easily killed thousands of stillbirth monsters. After the stillbirth monsters were killed, the dark lava started spreading and devouring their corpses. Chun Zhao realized that the dark aura on these stillbirth monsters was the same as the dark lava. 1 or 2 stillbirth monsters didn't have much dark aura, but if it devoured all the dark aura here, the dark lava would at least double in size. There was also the big guy in front of him, Mikados. Although he was a mixed blood dragon, he had a very dense dark aura. Roar, roar, Mikados exploded. He was furious. Even though he said that Chun Zhao would let the 3 of them go as long as he killed all the stillbirth monsters. But he had never planned to do that. He didn't think that Chun Zhao could really kill all the stillbirth monsters. He didn't care about Dagon Byro's death. Dagon Byro's was just a dispensable existence. On the surface, Dagon Byro's was the leader of the stillbirth monsters, but he was actually just managing them. Now that Dagon Byro's was dead, he could choose another stillbirth monster to bestow power on. Before long, there would be a second and third leader. The army of stillbirth monsters was the foundation. But now, the dead fetus army had suffered such a huge loss. How could he tolerate this? Mikada's 2 heads opened their mouths at the same time. One spat out turbid flames, while the other spat out green, corrosive liquid. Shera and Pankit's scalps went numb. Had the monster finally attacked? But the next moment, the dark lava blocked Mikada's spit. Don't worry, I'll send you on your way soon. Chun Zhao pointed, and the dark lava pounced at Mikados. Frightened, Mikados hurriedly spread his wings and soared into the sky. Chun Zhao was still slaughtering the stillbirth monsters without restraint. These stillbirth monsters were loyal to Mikados, but it didn't mean that they were fearless. Soon, they were afraid of being killed. Soon, they scattered and ran for their lives. Because of the decrease in numbers, the scene became sparse. The 7,000 Imperial Thousand Swords weren't as effective anymore. Chun Zhao put away the Imperial Thousand Swords. All techniques returned to 1. The 6 clones and the main body merged into 1. Chun Zhao looked at Mikados in the air. It's your turn, bastard. Chun Zhao was still smiling. But in Shera's, Pankit's, and even Mikada's eyes, this smile was filled with malice. Are you ready to welcome death now? Mikados was about the same size as the black dragon, but the difference in strength wasn't small. The 2 heads looked quite impressive. In reality, whether it was strength, speed, or dragon aura, they were all much weaker than the black dragon. Chapter 1455. Shera and Pankat were already dumbfounded. Chun Zhao's figure flashed. Shera and Pankat felt the wind pressure from the intense flow of air. Just the wind pressure alone almost made them lose their footing. They looked for Chun Zhao again, but he was nowhere to be found. Just as they were looking for Chun Zhao, there was a loud bang in the distance. Then they saw Makaraz's huge body fall from the sky. If the black dragon had been struck by this attack, it might not even have been injured, let alone causing it to fall from the sky. But Mikaras couldn't even take a blow with 30% of Chun Zhao's strength. Just then, the dark lava surged toward Mikaras like a tide. At this moment, the dark magma had doubled in volume. Mikaras struggled wildly, shaking off the dark lava around him and on his body. But the next moment, the dark lava turned into countless blades of different sizes. Mikaras was covered in wounds in an instant. Who knew how much flesh had been cut off from his body? Roar, Shara, and Pancat were so shocked by the battle that they couldn't close their mouths. Was this man still human? Mikaras wanted to flap his wings and fly, but Chun Zhao was right above him. Mikaras was less than 10 meters in the air. Chun Zhao pressed down on Mikaras' head again. Mikaras fell into the mountain of blades formed from the dark lava again. Roar, Father, save me! Mikaras howled. At this moment, a black shadow descended from the sky and landed on Mikaras' body, fusing into one with him. Chun Zhao was surprised. This aura? It was the black dragon's aura. Mikaras' aura had recovered. It was even stronger than before. But this power was external, after all. It didn't belong to him. Chun Zhao didn't give him much chance. A black trident appeared in his hand. The next moment, Chun Zhao fell from the sky like a falling meteor. The black trident stabbed into the intersection between Mikaras' two necks. Roar, Mikadas shrieked. Chun Zhao twisted the black trident in his hand and tore open the intersection of its neck. Just then, Chun Zhao had an idea. He gave up on killing Mikaras. Instead, he flew and landed in front of Mikadas. Now, it's my turn to give you a chance. Chun Zhao looked at the dying Mikadas. Mikadas tried his best to lift both of his heads. His wounds were healing rapidly. However, his powerful recovery did not mean that he was completely unscathed. Both Shala and Pancat were shocked to the extreme. He thought that this was a situation where he would definitely die. Unexpectedly, Chun Zhao was the real monster. Mikadas was scary enough. But before Chun Zhao, he was like a child. Attack or defend. 3 chances. If you're still alive after 3 tries, I'll let you go. The dark lava was shrinking. Ever since its volume doubled, Chun Zhao felt that it seemed to have changed. So, Chun Zhao wanted to experiment with Mikadas. Mikadas knew that he was in big trouble this time, so he didn't dare to be careless. He did not dare to hold back. If he did not use his full strength, he would definitely die. Chun Zhao silently felt the changes in the dark lava. If the dark lava had been a part of Chun Zhao's body before, it was now his limbs. All this time, Chun Zhao's control and practice of the dark lava, or the dark serum, had been through Samuel. Samuel's control of the dark lava had reached a level where he could do whatever he wanted. He could also take away Chun Zhao's dark lava directly. Of course, as a projection, Samuel could not control too much or take away too much time. However, Samuel's control of the dark lava and the dark serum had reached an amazing level. Samuel could control the dark lava to simulate part of his attacks. He could even use the dark lava to simulate certain forms to release magic. Of course, what Chun Zhao could do now was only mimicry. For example, Samuel could make the dark magma imitate the posture of an animal or a human, and make the attacks of an animal or a human. However, Chun Zhao was still at the level of making the dark lava mimic objects such as blades. This was the difference in essence. Chun Zhao still could not mimic right now. However, he could feel the changes brought about by the dark lava. The increase in his own power could bring about changes. The dark lava could also bring about changes. If Chun Zhao and the dark lava were compared, it would be like a soldier and a weapon. If the soldier's power increased, the weapon in his hand would naturally be more powerful too. And if the weapon's power increased, the damage it could bring would naturally increase too. Chun Zhao started to gather the dark lava, completely fusing it into his body and the black trident in his hand. Both Chun Zhao and the trident in his hand turned red and black. Mikadas exploded with all his power. Ring of destruction. Rings of flames exploded around him. Chun Zhao was familiar with this move. It was the same as Black Dragon's. If it was Black Dragon, Chun Zhao would still be a bit worried. But with Mikadas' Ring of Destruction, Chun Zhao couldn't feel any pain even if he stood still. Of course, this was also because he had assimilated with the dark lava, which greatly increases resistance to heat. Chun Zhao moved and charged through the ring of destruction. He swept the trident horizontally, and the black trident instantly grew dozens of meters long. Rumble! A ravine was left on the ground, and Makata's 2 heads were smashed into pieces. Oh no! He was too heavy-handed. He didn't even last 3 moves. Chun Zhao had originally planned to keep Mikados alive to test his moves, but he had underestimated the power of his attack. In the end, he killed Mikados in 1 move. An incorporeal figure floated out of the huge corpse. Despicable human, you said you'd give me 3 chances. Makata's soul cursed. Chun Zhao raised his arm. Sorry, you're more fragile than I thought. Boom! The white light flashed, and Makata's soul was also shattered by the white light, leaving nothing behind. Chun Zhao twisted his neck. It seemed like he could only test his moves on Old Turtle. Chun Zhao put away Makata's body. He couldn't let his family eat it. Usually, Chun Zhao would have an estimate of whether or not it could be eaten. Mikados was a hybrid. Hybrids usually had very heavy chaotic power. Humans or animals could mutate if they ate it. At least, if they didn't have enough resistance, they couldn't be eaten. But if family pets could be eaten, they were either demons or hybrids. Please remember this book's domain name, mobile version. Chapter 1456. The alternate dimension started collapsing. In less than 10 minutes, it would completely collapse. Chun Zhao frowned. Dark lava immediately rushed out from under his feet and spread in all directions. In just a few seconds, a stillbirth monster was caught. Then a second, a third, and a third. Chun, why did you catch these things? I'm so poor that I can't even cook, Chun Zhao said. I caught some game for my pets. As soon as these stillbirth monsters were dragged back by the dark lava, they would immediately be enveloped by it. As for their lives, that wasn't within Chun Zhao's consideration. It was fine as long as their dark power didn't leak out. Time was of the essence. Once the alternate dimension completely disappeared, the 3 would be expelled from this place, and the stillbirth monsters would be banished to some corner of hell. The alternate dimension wasn't big. It was probably less than 2 square kilometers. Chun Zhao's dark lava covered an area of about 1 square kilometer. After it stretched out in strips, basically no creature could escape from Chun Zhao's control. The stillbirth monsters were dragged out one by one and then enveloped by the dark lava, turning them into black cocoons. Seeing that the stillbirth monsters were gone, Chun Zhao put away the dark lava. By then, the alternate dimension had already collapsed in front of them. The next moment, the 3 were back in Shera's house. It was like a dream. At least for Shera and Pancat, it was a dream. Crack! Chun Zhao turned on the light. Shera and Pancat immediately felt the light. The bright light made them feel safe and comfortable. Suddenly, Chun Zhao raised an eyebrow. Your troubles don't seem to be limited to the thing hiding in the alternate dimension. Shera was stunned. Pancat didn't just admire Chun Zhao now. He even feared him. This person was so powerful that it surpassed his knowledge and understanding. After hearing Chun Zhao's words, Pancat immediately realized that he and Sean seemed to have missed something in this house. Chun Zhao walked to the stairs. Shera and Pancat immediately followed him. Chun Zhao rubbed his chin and looked at the floor beside the stairs. Chun, what are you looking at? Under the floor, Chun Zhao said. How long have you lived here? Less than 2 months, Shera said. Xiao La said, it was your payment last time that allowed me to have enough money to buy this house. No wonder, Chun Zhao said. If you stay here for too long, you'll probably die a horrible death. What exactly is here? Chun Zhao flicked his finger. The wooden boards on the ground were lifted one by one, revealing the basement below. However, Xiao La and Pancat couldn't see anything. It was too dark down there. Is there anything down there? Shayla's face was filled with fear. You'll know soon enough. At this moment, the lights in the living room dimmed without warning. The whole room was plunged into darkness once more. However, the darkness did not last long. Suddenly, A fire appeared in the dark basement. In the next instant, a twisted ball of flame crawled out of the basement. Evil scorching flame spirit. Pancat was shocked. No, it wasn't the burning fire evil spirit, but a twisted monster made up of dozens of burning fire evil spirits. He had never seen such an ugly, disgusting monster. However, before he could react, Chun Zhao had already swung his fist and smashed the twisted monster into pieces. Sparks and ashes scattered everywhere. Chun Zhao raised his right arm. The mouth of gluttony absorbed. Delicious. The mouth of gluttony sensed it. Pankat's face was filled with shock, but he quickly regained his composure. Compared to the countless stillbirth monsters and Mikados, this twisted evil spirit did not seem that scary. Since Chun Zhao could easily deal with Mikados and the army of stillbirth monsters, it was not surprising that he could destroy this twisted evil spirit. The lights in the room lit up again. Mr. Chun, what's going on? I believe you don't want to know what's going on down there, Chun Zhao said. You better call the police now. Call the police? Xiao La was still confused. And sue the person who sold you the house. Xiao La could not help but be curious, but she soon regretted it. Even Pancat regretted his curiosity when he shone his flashlight at the situation below. It was too scary. There were dozens of charred corpses down there. These corpses were all stuck together like charcoal, forming a hellish scene. This house could not be lived in anymore. Xiao La was really unlucky. Even if Chun Zhao solved the problem, it was still uninhabitable. Imagine having dozens of charred corpses buried in the basement of your house. Even Chun Zhao could not tolerate it, let alone Xiao La. It was not fear but disgust. It was human instinct. Then Xiao La called the police. When the police arrived, they were also shocked. After checking, they discovered that there were 66 charred corpses in the basement. The oldest among them was at least 30 years old. Almost all of them had become mummies. Xiao La wanted to cry, but had no tears. She had no choice but to ask the real estate agency for compensation. Of course, she had just bought the house. Now that there was a problem with the house, it was easy to ask for compensation. Chun Zhao agreed to let Xiao La stay for a few days until she found a new house and settled down. She did not want to step foot in that house anymore. It was too scary. She shuddered at the thought that she had lived in that house for more than a month. There were also dozens of corpses and their twisted souls that had fallen asleep with her. The three left after giving their statements to the police. Chun Zhao brought Xiao La to his house. Of course, Chun Zhao did not welcome Pancat, even though Pankat's tone implied that he wanted to get to know Chun Zhao better. Chun Zhao ignored Pancat. They were not familiar with each other and did not interact much. Enjoying the night sea breeze on the highway, Xiao La asked curiously, Mr. Chun, are there many people like you? I have quite a lot of friends like you, Chun Zhao said. How about compared to the supernatural organization in Los Angeles? Huh, you know about the supernatural organization? I once attended a class under Pancat and Sean's guidance. You don't know Sean, right? He also fell into that space and was eaten by that monster. I'm the president of the supernatural organization. Xiao La was stunned, but she quickly understood. This did not surprise her too much. A powerful existence like Chun Zhao was completely different from a wild spiritualist like Pancat. Therefore, it was not strange that Chun Zhao could lead the supernatural organization. Chapter 1457. Today, Xiao La had witnessed the huge difference between the so-called strongest and wild spiritualists. Pancat and Sean had fought with their lives and barely defeated a stillbirth monster. But Chun Zhao could easily kill hundreds and thousands of stillbirth monsters. This gap was no longer something that could be described as 10 times or even 100 times. It was no wonder that Chun Zhao was the president of the supernatural organization. Pancat and Sean were probably just beginners. After arriving at Minghua Villa, Xiao La wasn't unfamiliar with the place. After all, she'd stayed here once. You can stay in the same room as last time. I'll go feed the fish, Chun Zhao said. Xiao La knew that this was what Chun Zhao meant by feeding the fish. It should be those big sharks. Xiao La saw Chun Zhao jump off the cliff. She wasn't surprised. After all, She'd seen Chen Zhao fly before. Chen Zhao flew to the surface of the sea, and his aura spread out. But what Chen Zhao didn't expect was that other than Amon, Little Nine, and the 5 tiger generals, even the dolphin family had come. It seemed like they wanted to settle down here and wouldn't leave. Chen Zhao didn't feed them the corpse of the stillbirth monster. It wasn't something they could digest. Chen Zhao didn't want such a cute dolphin to turn into something weird. They still wanted to keep their daughter's company. As for the 5 tiger generals, Chen Zhao didn't care what they became. They were just here to guard the house. Amon and Little Nine could digest it directly. The dark aura of the stillbirth monster was nothing to them. Even Chen Zhao could digest it directly. But the problem was that Chen Zhao had learned about the stillbirth monster's origin from Pancat. This was disgusting. In a sense, it was like a human stillbirth. Chen Zhao couldn't stand it. He gave the dolphins some strengthening potions and intelligence potions. Amon and Little Nine needed to eat. Apart from Chen Zhao feeding them, they basically had to go to the open sea to find food. Chen Zhao knew that they'd found a trench in the open sea. There were many giant squids in the trench that was thousands of meters deep. These squids were much larger than what humans had discovered and had more attack power. Because they could only survive under high water pressure, it was difficult for humans to discover them. The ecology there was very intact, so these 2 big eaters would not destroy the ecology there. The 2 of them could eat as much as they wanted and eat until they were full every time. It wouldn't cause any ecological imbalance there. After all, the trench was huge. No matter how much they ate, how much could they eat? Unless their appetite increased by 1,000 times, it would be impossible for them to destroy the ecological balance of a trench. Amon's body had basically reached its limit. In fact, before the tropical storm, Amon's body size had already reached its natural limit, and his subsequent growth was due to the mutation after devouring a large number of evil spirits. Little Nine was now 50 meters long, but Chen Zhao had no idea how big it could grow. The 5 tiger generals' physiques had also been increasing recently, but this region of the sea was enough to support them. Plus, Chen Zhao would feed them every now and then, so the 5 of them wouldn't cause any damage to Moon Coast ecology. With the 5 of them guarding the coastline, as long as they didn't encounter a fishing boat or the 2-headed shark from before, they could basically settle everything. Of course, they are not invincible. After all, there are creatures called killer whales in this world. But if they encounter a killer whale, they just have to run toward the shallow water, and the killer whale would not dare to come over. Most of the time, whales rarely go near shallow water because they will be stranded. Because of their body structure, once they get too close to shallow water, they will lose their mobility and be pushed to the beach by the tide. In the end, they will die of dehydration. Once the water depth is less than 10 meters, they will leave the area on their own. Sharks, on the other hand, don't have this restriction. They are stranded in a very shallow water depth. They can also move freely in a depth of 2 or 3 meters. Of course, with Little Nine and Amon's scent, no large creatures dare to approach here. Even killer whales are no exception. Many marine creatures can distinguish the number of creatures in an area or how big the area is through scent. If killer whales can do it, so can sharks. At least, after Chen Zhao's family moved here and solved the problem of attracting sharks, there have been no larger sharks or whales in the nearby waters. Even the more docile ones did not come. They clearly know that something exists here. So, the smarter a creature is, the more they know how to avoid danger. Dolphins are also very smart, but their personalities are actually very similar to humans. Curiosity will drive them. Even if they know there is danger, they will still approach and see. Moreover, they trust humans too easily. In the past, when the fishing industry was less developed, how did humans kill dolphins? First, they would feed the dolphins. Once was enough. The next day, the dolphins would play with fishermen. But what awaited them were fishing nets and butcher knives. Humans used their naivety and trust to hunt them. Perhaps they still thought that this was a unique way of playing games for humans until they died. Just like their trust, after they became familiar with the 5 tiger generals, they were no longer afraid. Every day, they would cause trouble and steal the 5 tiger generals' prey. When the 5 tiger generals put up a fish, they would go up and steal it. After that, they would be chased by the 5 tiger generals for a few miles. This is how they play. The big ones are like this, and so are the small ones. Actually, they have no evil intentions. They just like to play. However, their games are like pranks to Chen Zhao. They never get tired of this game where they want to bite me, but can't catch me. There were even worse cases. For example, when the 5 tiger generals were eating, they would directly defecate on them. Anyone would be angry if they did that. Of course, this evil family wouldn't dare to do anything bad to Amon and Little Nine. After all, they're too scary. One is 50 meters long, and the other is 100 meters long. They are both huge monsters. They can only bully the 5 tiger generals who are at the same speed as them. After feeding the dolphins, Chen Zhao jumped into the sea and swam underwater with the dolphin family and the 5 tiger generals. After swimming for a dozen miles, they entered the deep sea. The water here is already 100 meters deep. There are more species in the sea. Suddenly, Chen Zhao felt a magic wave in front of him. A spiritualist fell into the water. Chen Zhao's heart jumped. He followed the magic aura and looked forward. But no matter how he looked, he didn't find anyone. But the magic wave was still there. Chapter 1458. Wasn't he on the surface? Chen Zhao was confused. Had the spiritualist sunk into the water? But he didn't see anyone in the shallow water region. Had he sunk into the deep water region? If he had sunk into the deep water, then he should be dead. After all, regular spiritualists shouldn't be able to withstand such high water pressure. Also, judging from the waves of magic, the owner of this magic wasn't strong. He shouldn't be that strong. But the magic was still there. This meant that the owner of the magic wasn't dead yet. Chen Zhao dove into the deep water region and started searching at the bottom. After searching for a long time, he still couldn't find anyone in the water. Chen Zhao could basically confirm that the area was about 1 kilometer in diameter. As long as Chen Zhao left this range, he would feel the magical waves disappear. Chen Zhao searched back and forth in this area. He really couldn't find any ghost survivors. Chen Zhao suddenly paused and slapped his head. Wait, wasn't it human? Why did it have to be human? It could be other creatures too. Perhaps it was a magical creature. This time, Chen Zhao searched more carefully. First, it had to be big enough. It couldn't be a small fish or shrimp. Those creatures that only had instincts definitely wouldn't have magic. Don't even think about it. Even in an environment like hell, small fish and shrimp wouldn't have magic, let alone in the human world. Also, these creatures were usually bigger than normal. This was because magic could stimulate the abnormalities of creatures. For example, the mixed bloods in his family. Just then, Chen Zhao saw a fish. It was colorful and had a round mouth that could probably fit an adult's fist. It was about 80 centimeters long, but it was quite fat. However, Chen Zhao didn't know what species it was. Was it that fish? Chen Zhao suddenly sped up and swam through the water. Chen Zhao believed that no creature could be faster than him in the water. Even fish were no exception. Even the fastest sailfish in the world couldn't outrun him. Sailfish's normal speed was 110 kilometers per hour. In a short time, they could reach a maximum speed of almost 200 kilometers per hour. Chen Zhao hadn't tested his own speed, but he was definitely faster than this. Ever since he absorbed the deep sea, his speed in the sea was close to his speed on land. Instantly, Chen Zhao caught the fat fish. The fat fish struggled in Chen Zhao's hand, but it couldn't break free. However, the moment Chen Zhao grabbed the fish, he felt that it had no magic power. Clearly, the mana fluctuations were not emitted by this fish. Chen Zhao loosened his grip, and the fat fish leaped out. Chen Zhao wanted to let it go. However, it just happened to be heading straight for the 5 tiger generals and the dolphin family. Under normal circumstances, it would be very cautious. Once a shark approached, it would flee immediately. However, it had just been caught and was still panicking, so it had no idea where to run. Oljong opened his mouth and bit off half of the fat fish. The fat fish was not dead yet. It was still struggling to swim with only half of its body. Dolphin's family wasn't kind either. They went up and fought over the food. Chen Zhao continued to search for the source of the magic power. An area with a diameter of 1 kilometer was not a small area. At the very least, it was a very large area for a single person. In the deep sea, big fish were not rare at all. There were at least 80 big fish in the entire area. Whenever Chun Zhao saw a suspicious fish, he would go up and catch it. If he realized something was wrong, he would throw it away. However, the 5 tiger generals and the dolphin family did not reject anything. Chun Zhao let go of the front, and the back fell into their mouths. Suddenly, Chun Zhao paused. There was a huge giant clam before him. So big, such a huge giant clam. It looked like it was almost 5 meters in diameter. The giant clam opened slightly. There was an irregular black pearl inside. Usually, pearls were round. However, the black pearl could not be described as a pearl. It could only be described as a piece. The pearl was probably as big as an adult's thigh. It looked like a kid's play with plasticine or chewed gum. Chun Zhao's heart jumped. It was definitely this thing. It was the magic it was emitting. Chun Zhao swam over slowly and reached for the pearl. However, the giant clam seemed to have sensed danger or sensed Chun Zhao. The lid closed and clamped down on Chun Zhao's arm. Damn, it reacted so fast. Chun Zhao tried to pry it open with his other hand, but he could not. Try again. He still could not. No way. He couldn't even pry it open. The strength of this giant clam was too great. Chun Zhao could not use his full power right now. Plus, he did not really want to hurt the spiritual creature, so he did not kill it directly. Chun Zhao wanted to bring the giant clam home. He wanted to make a water tank and raise it in his home. However, the giant clam's strength exceeded Chun Zhao's expectations. This made Chun Zhao give up. It was indeed very ornamental to raise it at home. The key was the danger, especially the 2 little guys at home. They did not understand danger. If they climbed into the water tank and were clamped by the giant clam, it would be very dangerous. However, he could raise it in the nearby sea. Anyway, Chun Zhao just wanted to bring this good thing to his home. He could not bear to kill it. However, the giant clam would not let go. Chun Zhao was a bit depressed. He could forcefully pry it open, but it would strain the muscles inside. The giant clam might be big, but it was actually quite fragile. Chun Zhao still wanted to open it in a gentler way. What should he do? The giant clam was strong, but it could not hurt Chun Zhao at all. However, he could not just let it bite his arm like this. Chun Zhao suddenly thought of an idea. His fingers moved on his right arm, and he gently pressed on the giant clam's tender flesh. He wanted to tickle it. As expected, the giant clam loosened its flesh, and Chun Zhao immediately retracted his arm. Shoo, good thing he let go. If he did not, he would have to use a more ruthless method. In that case, it would inevitably hurt the giant clam. Now, he should bring it home. Chun Zhao pulled the giant clam up and felt its weight. It was about 12 tons. This giant clam was probably going to be the world's #1, right? It was probably going to become a spirit soon. It was not bad to bring the world's #1 giant clam home. In the sea, Chun Zhao did not have to spend much effort to bring the giant clam home. However, he had to think about where to put it. This was because giant clams also knew how to run. If they appeared in unfamiliar waters, it was possible for them to escape. Chapter 1459. One shouldn't think that shells couldn't move. Actually, these marine mollusks were quite mobile. Some small and medium-sized mollusks could move close to 1,000 meters a day without relying on the tide. Large mollusks, such as giant clams, could easily climb 2 to 3 kilometers in a day. Chun Zhao felt that this giant clam that was about to turn into a spirit was good stuff. Since it was good and he'd found it, it was his. Chun Zhao didn't want to leave it to fate. What was his was his. Who would leave it to fate? Fei Lai was speechless. She knew that Chun Zhao had come back last night and even brought Shara back. Then, Chun Zhao went to play in the sea at night. He played for the whole night. In the morning, Shara told Fei Lai what had happened last night. Fei Lai was unperturbed. After all, she already knew about Chun Zhao's abilities. Chun, why did you destroy the monster's body? Fei Lai said carelessly. If he kept it intact, he could make a specimen at home as a collection. Shara broke out in a cold sweat. As expected, She didn't have anything in common with Phalai. If she faced an evil spirit, she would be toyed to death. Even if their family were to face the Devil Legion, they would probably end up as a collection for their family. Just then, Shara and Phalai saw Chun Zhao come up in the elevator. Chun, you were in the sea last night? I swam dozens of nautical miles and found something amazing, Chun Zhao said. What is it? Shara and Phalai were instantly interested. Phalai also forgot that she was going to criticize Chun Zhao. A giant clam? A huge giant clam. I think it's the biggest giant clam in the world. There's even a pearl inside. It's this big. Chun Zhao gestured with his hands. Phalai and Shara both had longing expressions. They clearly wanted to see the giant clam. So, Chun Zhao's family and Shara all went out to see the giant clam that Chun Zhao had mentioned. When they reached the water where Chun Zhao had placed the giant clam, only Phalai and Shara went into the sea. They were all neatly dressed in diving gear. Chun Zhao stayed on the boat to take care of the two little guys. Little Jerlin also wanted to go into the water to see the giant clam. However, she was still too young. Chun Zhao definitely wouldn't agree. It wasn't deep water, but the water pressure of a dozen meters could already affect adults, let alone little Jerlin. Moreover, the position of the giant clam wasn't just a dozen meters. Seeing that Chun Zhao wouldn't let her in, Jerlin hugged her chest and puffed her cheeks, looking angry at Chun Zhao. You can dive whenever you want when you can, Chun Zhao said matter-of-factly. Anyway, don't think about diving now. Diving was different from swimming. Swimming was good for the body, but diving was dangerous. Moreover, a child might not know how to control himself or the dangers involved in diving. Chun Zhao could control the water pressure so that Jerlin wouldn't be hurt. But what if Jerlin sneaked into the water when Chun Zhao wasn't around? Little Jerlin was already having a hard time facing the waves, let alone diving into deep water. Nowadays, diving required a diving permit. Why did one need a diving permit? This was because diving had a certain degree of danger. Without a certain amount of training, it was very easy for accidents to occur. Half an hour later, Phalai and Shara boarded the boat. Both of them were still gasping in amazement at the astonishingly huge giant clam they had just seen. Mom, I want to go down too, but Dad won't let me. Dad's a bad guy, right? Jerlin immediately hugged Phalai and complained. Phalai giggled. Yes, Dad's a big bad guy. Then Mom will let me dive and play, right? No. Phalai was still smiling. Mom, you're a bad guy too. You're all bad guys. I'm very disappointed in you guys. I want to be alone. Jerlin stood at the edge of the deck. Chun Zhao and Phalai's faces darkened. Shara's face was filled with astonishment. The girl was too immersed in her role. Little Jerlin looked like a girl who had been hurt badly by both her parents and her parents. Phalai, I think we should put more cartoons in our house, Chun Zhao said. Disney's princess cartoons are pretty good. I think so too. Phalai nodded. Jerlin had watched too many bullshit romantic movies. Even Chun Zhao and Phalai were tired of the plots, but Jerlin enjoyed them with great interest. Since you don't want me anymore, I'll leave. Jerlin wiped her dry tears and dove into the sea. Startled, Shara hurriedly ran to the railing. Chun, go down and save Jerlin. Save what? She's just looking for an excuse. Chun Zhao rolled his eyes. Very soon, Shara realized that Jerlin had popped up. She was even stepping on Guan Lao Da's back and grabbing his dorsal fin. Chun Zhao ordered Guan Lao Da to bring Jerlin to play nearby, but not to dive more than 10 meters. Jerlin was still as troublesome as ever. However, Chun Zhao couldn't lock her up like a caged bird. Shara was speechless at the parents. However, she had to admit that growing up in a family like this was indeed very safe. Even the ferocious great white shark was a pet that guarded the house in this family. As long as she was in the water, Jerlin indeed didn't have to worry about getting hurt. However, Shara's head hurt whenever she thought about finding a place to live. Chun Zhao and Phalai had never chased her away or expressed that she wasn't welcome. However, she still couldn't stay here permanently. Minghua Villa was nice. The food, accommodation, and entertainment were all top-notch, but it wasn't her home, after all. The next day, Shara found a place to stay. Chun Zhao and Fei Lai only asked her to stay out of politeness. Both of them didn't want anyone to disturb their lives. Of course, they welcomed occasional guests, but they weren't saints if they wanted to stay permanently. Of course, Shara still knew her manners. On the same day, Chun Zhao received a call from Seagate. It was Oliver Lurby's assistant. Seagate's design team had finished the second draft of Chun Zhao's yacht design. They needed Chun Zhao to make the final decision. The service provided by Seagate fully demonstrated what it meant to be rich. Generally, the yacht company would provide a design that would comply with whatever the customer requested. On the other hand, the service that Seagate provided to Chun Zhao was that apart from fulfilling all of Chun Zhao's requests, they would also provide their own ideas for Chun Zhao to choose from. There were also all sorts of high-tech equipment. Basically, everything that could be put into the design had been put in. Chapter 1460. Mr. Ofer, I don't need a weapon system. Chun Zhao pointed out a part of the design. Mr. Chun, almost all the super yachts in the world are equipped with weapon systems. Of course, it's up to you whether you want to use them or not, but you should know how precious the lives of a super rich person like you and your family are. So, I think it's necessary to be prepared, Orford Robier said. I have my own plans. It's not that I'm unprepared, but I believe in protecting my family more, Chun Zhao said. So, the weapon system can be removed. Of course, if you can help me get a nuclear warhead and missile launcher, I'm willing to install it. Ofer and the other designers were all speechless. 300 million was a lot, but it was only enough to buy a nuclear warhead. Of course, since Chun Zhao had made this request, they wouldn't object. The decision was in Chun Zhao's hands. Also, since Chun Zhao said he had his own plans, they couldn't say anything. Chun Zhao was rich. He definitely knew how to protect himself and his family better than these people. Rich people definitely knew how to buy safety better than them. Mr. Chun, do you need the voice control, facial recognition, and fully automatic driving system? That's good, Chun Zhao said, nodding. Mr. Chun, if you don't want the weapon system, then do you want the small research submarine? Yes. In the future, it would be much more convenient for his family to see the underwater world. Chun Zhao asked again, how deep can the submarine go? 2,000 meters at the most. Can it be customized? I want to go deeper. It's fine if it's more expensive. Ofer Lurby and the other designers felt Chun Zhao's wealth once again. No problem. In this meeting room, only Chun Zhao had the right to say no or no. We'll contact the best submarine design experts. The operation of the submarine has to be as simple as possible. Of course, designing vehicles for the rich was based on the principle of simplicity. They couldn't design a boat for the rich and make it as complicated as flying a space shuttle. It was the interior design. There were also professional designers who communicated with Chun Zhao. From the size of the toilet to the color of the lighting, the interior designer had communicated with Chun Zhao. There was even a young girl's bedroom. Chun Zhao saw a burly man designing it for his daughter, and the details were very detailed. Chun Zhao even wondered if the designer was a pervert. Of course, Chun Zhao was happy to accept his design and concept. The designers who could sit in this conference room were basically the best in their respective fields. After more than 3 hours of discussion, they made some slight adjustments to the original design. He could basically finalize the draft and confirm the design plan. Chun Zhao also wanted to get the yacht as soon as possible, so he had to find a lawyer and sign a contract with them. Usually, with Chun Zhao's current wealth, he should find a regular private lawyer. In fact, private lawyers were very common in America. Most people in the middle class would have a private lawyer. If there was any trouble, a private lawyer would be able to solve it. Of course, this private lawyer didn't only serve this person. Private lawyers have many such clients, and rich people basically had a team of legal consultants. Chun Zhao was considering if he should find a private lawyer too. Suddenly, he thought of Jerlin's aunt, who was also Jerlin's younger sister, Alex. Alex was a lawyer, and a very powerful one at that. After walking out of the Seagate headquarters, Chun Zhao took out his phone and called Alex. Hey, Alex, you'll come to Jerlin's birthday, right? Of course, I'll come, Alex answered. Is your main business still in San Francisco? Why do you ask? Do you have a legal problem that you need my help with? No, Chun Zhao said. I have a contract to sign, but I don't have a private lawyer yet. My fees are very high. If you can get to L.A. today, you'll receive a very generous reward. Okay, what contract? Do you need me to draft it? I ordered a yacht from a company. I need you to be present to review the contract. The company will issue the contract. Okay, I understand. Give me the company's contact number. I'll contact them first. Alex was very experienced. She didn't chat with Chun Zhao and went straight to the point. Also, the yacht specifications and price. Apart from legal support, I'll also be in charge of monitoring the company's progress, so I'll take at least 1% of the yacht's cost. 1% is impossible. It's 0. 1% at most. What? Do you think I'm a fresh graduate? I'm not a beggar or a lawyer without any experience. Alex's voice immediately went up an octave. My yacht is worth more than $300 million. 1% is enough for me to form a team of consultants. Although Chun Zhao was somewhat related to Alex, it wasn't enough for him to throw her a few $1,000,000. Chun Zhao looked for Alex mainly because of her professionalism, not because of their familial relationship. 300 million? You want to order a super yacht? You that rich? Alex was shocked too. She thought that Chun Zhao would only order a yacht worth a few hundred or tens of millions, so 1% legal supervision fee wasn't too much. She really didn't expect that Chun Zhao would order a super yacht worth more than 300 million. Okay, I'll get L.A. today. Even if it was only 1% legal supervision, it was still a lot of money for Alex. Legal supervision also included supervision of the design and construction costs. For example, the yacht company's false price was also within her scope. After the yacht company came up with the final plan, Alex still needed to consult and investigate all aspects of the design plan. Among them, there was also a flexible price. This was used to cover the changes in the price and labor costs that occurred during the construction of the yacht. She also needed to negotiate this flexible price. In the end, she would get an estimated $500,000. Of course, it was also a very generous reward for her. By the way, is it convenient for people to live in your house? Chun Zhao hesitated. Please remember this book's domain name, mobile version. Chapter 1461. No one could take Jerlin away from him, even if it was just a temporary loan. Even if the person was Jerlin's relative. If you want to visit Jerlin, you can come anytime. Chun Zhao rejected Alex's request in a roundabout way. So petty. As a lawyer, Alex could obviously tell what Chun Zhao was implying. Chun Zhao didn't want her to stay at his house, but he also didn't want Jerlin to stay with Alex for now. I've already booked the ticket. My flight is at 3 in the afternoon. Come pick me up at 5. With that, Alex hung up. Chun Zhao checked the time. It was only noon. Chun Zhao called Fei Lai. He wouldn't be going home at noon. After all, it would take almost an hour to get to Minghua Villa from here. It would be even further from the villa to the airport. Since he had to pick Alex up later, he might as well stay in the city until it was time. Dragging time was the worst. The more you cared about time, the slower it would pass. Chun Zhao felt like an entire day had passed, but in reality, only half an hour had passed. Chun Zhao had no choice but to walk around. He remembered that Charla had told him last time that the wooden comb she'd bought that had caused trouble came from 558 Downey Street. Chun Zhao planned to go there and take a look. If the people from 558 Downey Street had sold that dirty thing to someone else, Chun Zhao had to get rid of a pest for the people. After all, Chun Zhao thought that Los Angeles was his territory, even though he never took the initiative to solve problems. But since the problem was right in front of him, Chun Zhao would take the time to solve it. This was a shop that normal people couldn't find. It was also Chun Zhao's first time here. However, he'd heard from the people in the association. Many people in the association often visited this shop. The entire Downey Street was filled with high-end luxury shops. If the decorations weren't up to standard, the city government would shut them down. But the door of 558 Downey Street was very old. It was a wooden house from the 1920s or the 1930s. It was old, and the paint on the door frame had almost faded. The windows weren't modern, floor-to-ceiling windows. Instead, they were square glass windows made of wood. When Chun Zhao pushed the door open, he wasn't used to the dark environment in the shop. The items in the shop were also quite messy, and there were a lot of things. An old woman and a red-haired girl were lying on a chair behind the counter. When they saw Chun Zhao, they immediately jogged over with professional smiles. "Hello, sir. How may I help you?" Chun Zhao glanced at the red-haired girl. Her magic power was pretty good, probably about the same as Jolanash or Giselle in the association. As for the old woman sleeping on the chair, Chun Zhao felt that she should be similar to Gaia. However, this was only in terms of magic power. If it were an actual battle, the old lady would probably be torn apart by Gaia. Chun Zhao knocked on the glass counter. Seeing that Chun Zhao had ignored her and gone to disturb her boss, the red-haired girl frowned in dissatisfaction. "Sir, if you don't have any other requests, please leave," the red-haired girl said with dissatisfaction. Just then, the old woman woke up and looked at Chun Zhao. "Sir, what can I do for you? A while ago, you sold a wooden comb here, right?" Chun Zhao asked. The old woman looked at the red-haired girl in confusion. Chun Zhao didn't know if the girl was pretending or if she really couldn't remember. Her eyes were blank. "I need to check. Is there a problem?" "There's a problem," Chun Zhao said. "Someone already died because of this comb." The old woman's and the red-haired girl's expressions changed slightly. Businessmen were most afraid of accidents. This was especially true for shops that sold magic items and magic raw materials. They were even more afraid of such things. "Who are you? Someone from the government? Or the victim's family?" The old woman stood up. She was already very old, and her body had shrunk. She looked less than 1.5 meters tall. However, her eyes were still lively. She stared at Chun Zhao with a sharp gaze. "Los Angeles is my territory," Chun Zhao said. Hearing that, the red-haired girl flew into a rage. "You want to slander our shop and then charge us protection fees?" Clearly, she thought that Chun Zhao was someone who wanted protection fees. Chun Zhao only glanced at the red-haired girl indifferently. She was probably just an employee here. With her brain, she probably wasn't the mastermind. Chun Zhao's gaze fell on the old woman. The old woman's magic power was definitely powerful. If this old woman was the mastermind, both in terms of life experience and personal strength, Chun Zhao wouldn't doubt it. Of course, Chun Zhao wasn't here to question her. He also wanted to clarify the situation. The old woman wouldn't think that Chun Zhao was someone who wanted protection fees. Someone who could find her shop and even dare to stand in front of her and denounce her was definitely not a hooligan. Plus, she'd been in Los Angeles for so many years. It wasn't like she didn't know what was going on. She knew about the supernatural organization. Recently, they'd become even more famous. Moreover, the supernatural organization claimed that Los Angeles was their territory. Apparently, the president of the organization was a Chinese. The old woman could roughly guess Chun Zhao's identity. "Sir, we're also confused about your accusations. Can you tell us the whole story? Even if you want to convict me, please show evidence." "I don't have evidence, but I have witnesses," Chun Zhao said. "An ordinary person once came into your shop and bought a wooden comb. Then, she caused a series of supernatural events. Because of the comb, a person died. He was a spiritualist." "Impossible," the old woman shouted immediately. "You're slandering me," the red-haired girl yelled agitatedly. "How can an ordinary person come here? That's the truth. For an ordinary person to find this place, she can't come here unless someone brought her in or someone from your shop wanted her in," Chun Zhao said indifferently. "I don't care if you believe me or not. I just need an explanation." "What if we can't?" the old woman asked in a low and hoarse voice. It seemed that she was also angered by Chun Zhao's barbaric attitude. "If you can't, I'll tear down this shop and chase you out of Los Angeles." Although it seemed like a bully bullying the weak, this was the world. However, this was how the world worked. Moreover, this incident was caused by this shop in the first place. Chun Zhao had already confirmed that it was the truth. Shara was indeed a victim and someone had died. Therefore, no one was innocent. Please remember this book's domain name, Nine Heavens Godly Emperor mobile version. Chapter 1462. The old woman's face was green. Even so, she didn't want to fight Chen Zhao. No matter what, it wasn't wise to fight Chen Zhao. If she was younger, she would probably tear the man before her into pieces and stuff him into the cellar. She was older. Although she had more magic power, her energy, stamina, and consciousness weren't as high as before. On the other hand, her employee, the red-haired girl, was like an angry rooster. Red and black balls of energy appeared in her palms. Chen Zhao could feel the girl's magic power. He'd never seen it before. It shouldn't be the magic school he was familiar with. Seeing the girl's magic, the old woman immediately frowned and scolded. "Wire, stop. You can't do anything here. Put away your magic." If someone had a fight, it should be her, not Wire. Since she didn't want to fight, what was the point of Wire doing it? At least for now, the old woman didn't plan on falling out with Chen Zhao and the supernatural organization behind him. "Sir, what kind of explanation do you want? Why did you sell that comb and your intentions?" The old woman took a deep breath and calmed herself down. Turning to Wire, she said, "Wire, look at the account book. Did he sell that comb from our shop?" Even now, the old woman still doubted Chen Zhao's words. Wire glared at Chen Zhao and opened the account book unhappily. "When was it sold?" "About 2 months ago." Wire started searching. Finally, she found a sales record on the account book. Wire was an employee in the shop. Of course, she needed to record what she sold. Because the old woman didn't know how to use electronic devices, she kept records in the account book too. Wire took out another order to compare. After 10 minutes, Wire's expression froze. Noticing Wire's expression, the old woman's heart skipped a beat. Did something really go wrong? But the old woman didn't change her expression. Her gaze was indifferent. "Wire, did you find it?" The old woman asked casually, trying to stay calm. Wire nodded slightly. "That comb is a consignment. The seller is Ruan Faxben." Hearing this name, the old woman couldn't stay calm anymore. Ruan Faxi was a rather famous alchemist, but his fame didn't lie in how good he was or what kind of works he had. And because of his vile reputation, he dared to try almost any magical tool. From Asia to Africa, then to Europe, and finally to the Americas, he left behind a notorious reputation. "Didn't you check if his consignment is dangerous?" The old woman scolded. She accepted alchemist consignments in this magic shop and took a commission from them. However, in order to ensure their business reputation, the consignment also needed to be inspected. I checked. Wire was so anxious that her tears were about to fall. Chen Zhao's face was still cold. He didn't know if they were acting or not. Before investigating clearly, he would not make a rash decision. The old woman sighed. When she heard that it was a consignment from Ruan Fassbender, her head swelled. The name was synonymous with trouble. Now she was 80% sure that the problem lay with Ruan Faxben. Wire must have checked the consignment. But with her skills, how could she beat a sly old fox like Ruan Faxi? Ruan Faxi only needed to disguise himself a little, and he would be able to fool Wire. Ignoring Ruan Faxi's alchemy skills, the two were not on the same level in terms of mentality. Ruan Faxi's personal deeds were too vile. He dared to do all kinds of forbidden experiments and tools. Who knew if this was another evil magic tool created by Ruan Faxi and used it to trick people? It's just a normal psychic tool. Wire complained softly. She still felt that Chen Zhao was stirring up trouble. "Sir, I think it's our fault." The old woman quickly recognized the situation. She didn't have the advantage in terms of strength or logic. No matter how powerful she was, how many connections she had, and how experienced she was, she couldn't compare to the local supernatural organization. So, she admitted defeat and pushed the blame. "We didn't check if there's anything wrong with the consignment. We're willing to compensate the victims and pay a fine to the supernatural organization." The old woman lowered her stance. She first said that the problem was on them, but their problem was relatively minor, and they were also the victims. Moreover, they had a good attitude in admitting their mistakes. She couldn't possibly crush this old woman to death. "You can contact the victim yourself," Chen Zhao said calmly. "I'll give you the victim's contact information. As for the fine, the supernatural organization doesn't need it." Bring Ruan Faxburn to the supernatural organization's headquarters. Chen Zhao wasn't worried that the old woman didn't have money. This seemed like an old magic shop, but its sales weren't low. At least, the people of the organization spent more than $100,000 here every month. Chen Zhao estimated that this shop's monthly turnover could be more than $2 million. Even the compensation for the victims, Shara and Sean, might not be enough to make the old woman pay. The old woman frowned. Money was a small matter. Just as Chen Zhao had guessed, she had money. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she was a billionaire. She could accept hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. But it would be troublesome for her to capture Ruan Faxburn. Ruan Faxi had caused trouble everywhere for many years and still hadn't been caught. One didn't even need to think to know how powerful he was. How much money would she have to spend to capture him? Sir, there's only me and Wire in this shop. Do you think we have the ability to catch Ruan Faxibon? If you can't, you can find someone else. This shop had been open for almost 100 years. Chen Zhao believed that the old woman's connections weren't just limited to the two people in the shop. The old woman probably knew more people from the spiritual world than all the people in the supernatural organization combined. If she was willing to spend money, it was more than enough to capture an alchemist. Moreover, this matter was originally her fault, so she also had the obligation to do so. Of course, the old woman considered this problem. She was willing to pay, but she didn't want to get involved. She was doing business. How could she find someone to capture an alchemist? And it wasn't an ordinary alchemist. Just then, a middle-aged man with messy hair walked in. Hello, Ms. Wire, Ms. Mephisto. I'm here to collect the payment. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.